What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Tom Bilyeu Show Live. We are here coming to you from Miami, Florida. I'm joined by Drew.
We're back, baby.
We are back. We're back in Miami. We got Eric over here DJing. We had a total catastrophe before we started going live. It was amazing. It's fun. Hey, when you're on the road, everything is a little bit different, but that's all right. We're excited to be here. It's going to be a good time. We got a lot going on. Speaking of a lot going on, and forgive that we do not have our normal accoutrement, so I'm going to be looking at my phone here. But Mamdani is now the mayor of New York City, the largest financial institution in the world. It's being run by a socialist, Drew. This is good times. I love it. Sometimes you got to touch a stove to remember that it's hot. So, well, we're going to get a good reminder of how economies actually work. It's going to be a lot of fun. Speaking of fun, the markets got obliterated yesterday. They were down $730 billion in a single day. All of that value just poof, gone. That's the way markets work. And as if trying to be a real life metaphor, we had a UPS plane that was full of jet fuel crash. It looked like it crashed on takeoff. That is certainly my understanding from the videos that I watched. And it left a mile-long fire. Absolute insane, and in the era of being able to see it from 1,000 different angles because things are recording all the time. It's pretty wild to see that happen. Tommy Robinson in the UK has been acquitted of terrorism, and the judge in the case basically excoriated the cops and said, for the love of God, stop pursuing this guy for political reasons. So I expect that to be a ringing refrain in the future for other people that are being clamped down on in the UK. We'll see how it plays out in the long term. The Supreme Court here in the U.S. is going to hear arguments today on whether or not Trump can use tariffs unilaterally against foreign nations without having to go to Congress. So we'll see. My sort of quick glance read of what it says in the Constitution seems pretty viable that he would be able to use that to cover doing tariffs, but we'll actually see what they say. The government shutdown is now the longest in history. Drew and I were debating whether we're tied for longest. I think today is a tie for the longest in history, and tomorrow would be truly breaking new ground. But the cracks are starting to show for anybody traveling right now, namely us. It's a bit unnerving. The Houston TSA just shut down. They walked off the job yesterday. And so the Secretary Duffy is warning that air travel may be significantly impacted in the coming weeks if this doesn't get cleared up. So we'll see. And then last but not least today, we've got AI computer brain interfaces are reaching sci-fi levels. It is absolute. It's thrilling. It's very exciting, but it is wild. So the world is going to look very different in the very near future, Drew. I saw another thing that was saying that talking about nanobots that can swim around your bloodstream. Sheesh. And it's like, we really are at that tipping point where it goes from like, oh, these ideas are cool to no, life is actually different. These nanobots can fight like cancers from inside the body, detect tumors, deliver drugs directly to the tumor site.
That's wild.
It is wild.
Like, we're going full like Marvel movie. As soon as you said nanobites,
yeah.
That's where I went with it. But
rightly so.
All right, we got to talk about it. If you're a Democrat, you're on top of the moon today. I
don't know that that's true. Are you going to talk about Mamdani?
Yeah, we're starting with Mamdani, but the governor of Virginia is now a Democrat. The governor of New Jersey is now a Democrat. Yep. Prop 50 in California passed. And, of course, Mamdani won NYC, so it was a blue wave that kind of happened. I have his a portion of his victory speech up here. What are your initial thoughts, though, of Mamdani taking the W?
So I'm a little bit surprised that it made me feel some type of way. So I don't usually navigate life by a whole lot of feelings. It's like, where are we trying to end up? So that caused me to pause. I don't trust my emotions. So, but I felt very negative. I felt very sad for the direction of America. I do think that Mamdani in New York is indicative of something larger happening. And so I feel about Mamdani the same way that I feel about Gary's economics, where it's like you've got your finger on the right problem, and the answer is so catastrophic and will accelerate this. It's like how I felt when Steve Jobs was like, I have pancreatic cancer, and so I'm going to do just like apple juice. And it's like, bro, that is going to make things worse. You're feeding a tumor which survives on carbohydrates. You're feeding it a steady diet of, guess what? Carbohydrates. Yeah. So it's one of those where when you don't understand the fundamental cause and effect of things, you can make the most like egregious, obvious own goals. And that's what we're about to see. So the great irony of all this is I want the same outcome they purport to want. Now, I think that Mamdani is only understandable when you think of him as somebody who despises the wealthy, not as somebody who actually wants to help the poor. Once you think of him that way, then things are going to make sense. You understand how we could look at the world and see just failure after failure after failure of these policies and still want to do it. But they really do punish the rich as well. So it beats everybody up. And that is wild to me. And dude, sometimes really when I'm writing the deep dives, I think about you and I'm like, I never needed to be aware of all this stuff, but Drew just wouldn't let it go. He had to have me every week write these deep dives, and they're phenomenal for the channel. But it is, boy, oh boy, are they hard. Because as you get into the meat and potatoes of the economy and how it works. So first of all, I've said this many times, but as the island of your knowledge grows, so grows the shore of your ignorance. So you come into contact with more and more things that you don't know. And so you begin realizing, wow, like I really thought I understood this stuff. And then you start encountering more and you realize there's a whole lot more complexity to this. But so far, none of the complexity that I've encountered makes me go, oh, I was fundamentally wrong about something. You just see how it like spreads even farther and farther and farther. And so it just so happened, I mean, none of this is an accident. We obviously zone in on the things that are really meaningful in culture at the moment. But I was writing about basically the markets are about to crash.
Right,
like 2 days before the market crashes. So seeing all of that, seeing all the interconnectedness, seeing that what everybody should be focused on is getting a thriving middle class, and then watching us do all the things that like literally mechanistically from a physics perspective, you just go, oh, the things that are being pushed by Mamdani are the exact opposite of things that could even possibly work. And that is, there's something about the Cassandra complex of knowing the future, but no one will listen to you. That is devastating. So it's my favorite Greek myth. I am convinced it was a parent trying, somebody writing it was trying to explain to parents what it's like. And basically you've lived through it, so you know what the future is going to be. And so you try to explain to the other person, this is going to be the future. So the actual myth goes like this. Chick has an affair with a god. God's never like that. So they punish her and they say, you're going to know the future, but no one will believe you. And so she runs around trying to tell everybody, if you do that, this terrible thing is going to happen. They won't believe her, so they still do the thing, and the terrible thing happens. And she knew it was going to come, and the curse is that people will not listen. That is exactly how I feel about New York. And I'm sure every parent feels that way about their kid, knowing, hey, like I've done those things, and it's absolutely grueling to your heart, and that's going to haunt you for 20 years, and you're going to need therapy around that one, and you still can't stop them from doing it. That's what this economic moment feels like, is there are knowable things that are making our economy have the outcomes that it's having, which are as terrible as people are saying. They are horrible for the poor and working class, just absolutely god-awful. They are wonderful for the wealthy in the short term, because eventually you actually get murdered. So it's like, if you can just get people to see all of that, then we could go, okay, like what are the actual things that will lead to the outcomes that we want? A thriving middle class, a place where people can get rich, they can pull ahead of everybody else, but it's not by such a grotesque margin that the government, and the way that you stop that, by the way, is by making sure that the government isn't getting involved in the financial markets, because you need wealthy people to get wiped out. So like if you make a series of bad decisions, you have to be able to fail. And we've removed that. And so, and then the other thing is that we steal from everybody. Nobody likes to call tax theft, but it's theft. And so when you think of inflation as the ultimate, it is both theft and it's secretive. And they take money from everybody. And because of the nature of economies, the only people that benefit from inflation are the people that own assets. Only 10% of Americans own assets. I shudder to think what percentage of the 10% own the vast majority of the assets. So call it something like 1 to 3% of Americans like just get wealthy in an unhinged way. And that is what's creating our problems mechanistically. But when you start voting for Mamdani, you're saying, I just need things that feel right. I don't need things that could actually yield a good outcome.
Yeah. It's one of those things, though, where I understand theoretically why New York is headed for disaster. I understand what's supposed to happen. I understand all the wiles and the whispers in the dark about the bad things that is associated with socialism.
Yep.
However, New York has made its decision. So just how, as a father with a daughter who I want her to do X and she always tells me that she's going to do Y instead, I can't just say, all right, well, go figure it out yourself and kick her out the house. I have to figure out, okay, you're doing the thing that I don't want you to do. How can I best help her through this situation? So now that we woke up this next morning, he's elected, he's in there. What can we do, or what can we learn from this moment that we can actually utilize to kind of help the young people? How can we kind of reinvigorate the economy in this way? Because I get it. If it was up to us, we would stop money printing. We would balance the budget. That's priority 1 and priority 2. But just like similarly to the right and the left both spend money, people are just choosing the right because they're spending less money. I feel like in this moment, some people on the left are choosing Mamdani because at least if we're going to spend money, at least give me some free shit in the process of the money spending. And I think that's their kind of rationale from there. So do you think that there is a way that we can kind of mitigate some of these quote unquote catastrophes that will come with his election? Is there ways that we can kind of isolate the rest of the U.S. from it being kind of completely off the rails? What are some ways we can kind of look at it now that the damage is done?
So the only thing that you can count on at this point is the structure of New York government. So some of the things he wants to do, he just won't be able to do because the mayor doesn't have the power to do that. So there'll be many things
Checks
like
and
that.
Balances, stuff like that.
Things just stymie his agenda. And so that's the joy of the gridlock of a democratic system. Is no one person can really do too much damage. The problem is they put in systems in place, and those systems over time do catastrophic damage. So rent controls back in the 70s and 80s were just absolutely devastating to the Bronx specifically. And so if anybody can conjure up those images of the burned out Bronx and all of that, that was from the kinds of policies that Mamdani wants to put in place. That's the great irony, is not only has this been tried before all around the world, it's been tried in the 5 boroughs and just led to disaster. And then you should ask, how did they unwind it? Hey, guess what? They unwound it by deregulating in capitalism. So it's like we're going to do the loop again. But other ways to mitigate it are basically none. So part of the reason I did not have children was I understood that part of the reason I became who I became was my parents couldn't really help me once I graduated from college. My dad had already spent a ton of money to put me through college. I had taken on a ton of debt. My mom was not in a financial position to help me. My parents divorced literally 3 weeks after I left for college. So my mom was financially destitute, working 2 jobs, just nightmare scenario. My dad had already put himself through enough to try to get me through college, and shout out to him. So I from the day I graduated, never received another dollar from my parents. And that meant I had to figure it out. And I had to get hurt. And I had to sometimes be in a position where I was like, oh, wow, I actually can't pay all my bills this month. And so you go, all right, I'm going to get some final notices from these guys, and I'll pay these guys this month, and then vice versa. And you do that for a while. So I didn't think I could trust myself to see my kids suffer. And so that was part of my calculus around not having kids, was I would make them soft. And so I was like, well, I don't want to do that. And I also don't want to watch them suffer. So New York has to suffer. That is the thing that will make it tough, is that they'll go, oh, these really didn't work. But hey, listen, when I say that my money is invested in a way that will show you I believe what I say. So I think that's going to be a good litmus test for a lot of people. But I think that these policies are guaranteed to fail. So at this point, it's like, well, you just have to step back. Like you said, they've made their decision, see what happens, let them go through it. The thing that I want to do is I want to plant flags, and I want to say, here are the things that I see coming. I don't expect people to listen or to vote, but over time you do earn credibility. And also, a big thing for me is I need to say what I think is going to happen so I can find out how close to mapping the truth I have been. That helps me sharpen my own thinking. So crime is going to go up, that's for sure. All the things that he's trying to make free, they will go down in quality. They're going to say that no matter what happens, that they've done the right thing, and that the bad outcomes are due to something exogenous. None of them are going to go, these are just bad policies. None of them. So until we get the middle class thriving again, effectively nothing is going to change at the societal level. New York, though, will become increasingly violent, increasingly dirty, increasingly seedy. Again, we've already played this movie. I was in New York in the 80s. I know what it looked like up close. And it was wild. And people will get sick of it. The people living there, and they will finally plug their nose and vote for somebody that promises law and order. That will be the start of it. People that are obsessed with law and order tend to be right-leaning. Right-leaning people tend to be more focused on sovereignty. So they're going to get back to traditional economic policies, not necessarily because they understand the economy, but because they lean towards sovereignty. And so that'll be the loop.
Okay, we had our conspiracy theory hats on Friday. I want to put my optimism hat on right now.
Okay, let's go.
I found out, went through the Twitter rabbit hole. Dragonfly Jones, like a Twitter commentator I follow who does basketball commentary, got into it over Mamdani with like a Twitter bot, and I found out through him Richmond passed free buses during the pandemic. So for the last 5 years, they've been free buses. There has been a noticeable increase in crime. There has been a noticeable increase in attacks, violent attacks. No Ukraine immigrants getting shivved or anything like that there. How they are paying for it is that the government funding that they receive from federal funds, they've reallocated to make it free for the bus system. Now, of course, there's still other, you don't get free trains and all these other things. You still pay for those, but at least specifically for the buses, they were able to sustain free buses through the subsidies that they receive.
There literally isn't a thing you can't make free. You can make anything free.
Yeah, but
however, you're only making it free for the people who use it. You're not making it actually free because people don't work for free. So if people understand...
The spending is coming from a different bucket.
Yeah. So if New York is just going to say, hey, listen, the things that Mamdani wants to make free or cheap, we're going to pull resources from everywhere else and we're going to reallocate them to that. Like if Mamdani were like, listen, I'm about balancing the budget. This is about fiscal responsibility. I understand capital flight, so I understand that I can't just keep taking from the wealthy because they will leave. So this is all a balancing act. And if he were appealing to the patriotism or whatever of Americans, this is something that we've done in times usually of war. But if he were able to rally people around, hey, listen, guys, this is an economic war. I think we can all agree that the middle class and the working class, they are suffering the most. And he could lay out the cause and effect of how the economy works. And he could say, listen, rule number 1, balance the budget. Rule number 2, we've got to help bring back a thriving middle class. We've got to put power from a negotiating perspective back in the hands of the working class. We've got to make sure that we're bringing industry back so that people have jobs. Then as a wealthy person, you might be like, yo, this guy really gets it. Okay, I'm here for this. I want to be a part of this. And if that guy were engaging with the business community in a non-corrupt way, because I think that they're when I see Mamdani posing with Alex Soros of all fucking people, I'm just like, here we go again. This is going to be a fun loop. In fact, literally, I mentioned George Soros in the upcoming deep dive that I wrote. So get to part 4. As always, I'm trying to tell people this is the thing that I think that you should do moving into the future. And I was like, please don't try to day trade against people like George Soros, because they understand that when the economy is left to its own devices, that it can be very unpredictable. So they don't leave it to its own devices. They spend money on NGOs. They have deals with DAs. They structure society in the way that they want. They will go into different countries and make sure that things play out in a way that's good for their portfolio. And it's guys, you hate the billionaire class for a reason. Now, if that reason is just vibes, that's retarded. If the reason is when people meddle in international affairs, not only does it create political problems that can be horrible for the people in that country, but they're doing it because they're trying to protect their portfolio. Now, you can't paint anybody with a blanket brush, but bro, that's going to get you 85% of the examples. Yeah. George Soros broke the back of the British pound. He literally looked at the pound and was like, these guys are making a mistake. Hey, Secretary Bessent, not secretary at the time, but like, let's roll in, let's fuck with these guys. They have made a mistake. They've made it clear like where the support has to be. I know that they're going to just try to buy, but they don't have they don't have pockets as deep as I do, so I'm going to buy even deeper. Okay, that's the guy, the son of anyway, that Mamdani is arms around. So billionaires shouldn't exist. Here I am with one of the most politically active internationally billionaires on planet Earth. But he's got all the money now. So Soros is toast. So if you hear like George Soros, at this point, it's Alex. So I don't know if you think that's like a get out of jail free card.
No, but to your point of the kids are always soft, like Alex isn't breaking the back of the British pound. I think Alex
he may not know how to do it, but he is. I would need to do a much deeper dive to put forward any very concrete things, but I assume that he's carrying on his father's legacy. If nothing else, he is still out there swaying markets. I hate it when Elon does it. I hate it when the Soroses do it. So that one, to me, I am an equal opportunity. It is a problem when people put money in politics like that and try to sway these markets like that. So anyway, that is the nature of what Mamdani is going to be trying to do. So he isn't doing what I wish he were, which is getting the business community together, balancing the budget, saying we're going to make these things more affordable by putting government dollars because that's what the people want. And as long as we're balancing the budget, we know these other things are going to have to give. Great, no problem. That's not how this is going to play out. First of all, he seems completely, I think if you map him again as somebody who wants to see the wealthy punished, he'll make a lot more sense. He does not care if the wealthy flee. He does not care. He's not paying attention to capital flight. Dude, if you go back to his 2020 tweets, they are so unhinged. And so he's asking us to believe, no, that's not me anymore. We'll see. Like, there's no doubt if you look at my tweets going backwards that there are going to be some things that'll be like, listen, I changed my mind about that. Like, I looked at it further, but I'll be able to map out for you the cause and effect that led me away from those positions. He's not going to be able to do that because he is doing whatever is politically expedient. Is my mapping.
I definitely get the frustration. I get what you're saying, that we have to be very careful about the billionaire class and who Mamdani is buddy with. And while George Soros now I feel like is like the Republican Candyman, that when people whisper his name, they think like an NGO is going to pop up and some trans person is going to jump out.
It is actually true.
I feel like, though, the game is the game. Because if we could look at Rupert Murdoch, Jon Stewart just did a talk with The New Yorker where he talks about everybody thinks the Republican Party in MAGA started with Trump, but it started 10 years ago when Rupert Murdoch bought all of AM radio stations that nobody was listening to, that only 50-year-olds and older were listening to. Yeah. He bought Sinclair Broadcasting. That was the synchronized local news network that was all saying the same thing. Yep. So they've been setting these conservative seeds for a decade ago. You know what I mean? That's how they were able to get support for the weapons of mass destruction. So this is a political game. This is a map, and we're realizing that everybody's grabbing for power in their way. The left might be doing it through NGOs, the right is doing it through conservative media, but everybody's just trying to grab power. I think what we should really be focused on now, and Vivek has a great tweet that I kind of want to bring in to point this out. We thought Trump has been saying the economy is booming, everybody's happy, the markets is flying, and all these things are happening. The market was a bloodbath yesterday. A bunch of Democrats won. I know that Republicans still have control of the office, still have control of the executive office. They still have control of the Senate, still have control of the House. But that is awakening to say, wait, the midterms aren't a shoo-in. Wait, the economy isn't booming for everybody. There are people that are still hurting. And whether or not we can point to the budget, whether or not we can point to communism, whether or not we can point to socialism, the voters are saying, your fear tactics aren't working. I still want change. I'm voting for something different because status quo isn't working for me. Let's jump into this video from Vivek where he kind of breaks down what the Conservative Party should be paying attention to after this election victory.
We got our asses handed to us in New Jersey, Virginia, and New York City. Democrats swept all three. There's two key lessons for Republicans. Listen carefully. Number one, our side needs to focus on affordability. Make the American dream affordable. Bring down costs, electric costs, grocery costs, healthcare costs, and housing costs, and lay out how we're going to do it. And number two, cut out the identity politics. It doesn't suit Republicans. It's not for us. That's the woke left's game, not ours. We don't care about the color of your skin or your religion. We care about the content of your character. That's who we are. We got our ass.
So with that coming, do you think that this will be a wake-up call for the Republican Party, especially with the midterms happening next November?
No, they know that they're in a political game. They will certainly understand the history. It's like only 3 times does the midterms not flip things. Mm-hmm. So it's like that isn't the game. So keep in mind, I want to be very clear. I'm not Republican.
Yeah.
So I look at the Republican Party and I say, these guys are god awful. And the bad news is the only people that are worse are the Democrats. So you just have to look at how much money they want to spend. And you've got the Republicans that passed the catastrophic big, beautiful bill. And then the Democrats were like, hold my beer. We want to add more to that. It's so wild. Mm-hmm. So they're all irresponsible. Mm-hmm. They are all doing something that is going to continue to hurt people. They are caught. So you're in a simulation, Drew, and I'm almost defiantly am deciding to think like that, which I need to be careful of. But you're living in a simulation. You've been programmed to act this way. And watching this play out, like once you understand the code that's running in all of our minds, I am not immune to this at all. I am as stuck in all of this as everybody else. I'm having as much of a biological experience as anybody else. But Jesus, like we just respond in the most obvious ways to these things. And so politicians only make sense when you think of them as somebody who will do anything, say anything to get elected and to get re-elected. Mm-hmm. All they are trying to do is maintain power. So my only hope is that because we live in a moment where we have high velocity of information, that we are able to lay everything bare, make everything as transparent as possible, not spill into conspiracy brain, but really get people to see enough of the picture that they can start putting things together from a cause and effect perspective. So pick an area. For me, it's been economics. You pick an area and you just start mapping out how does this happen from a cause and effect perspective. Because if we are in a simulation, even if we're not, God laid out rules, but the world clearly is built on top of rules, which is why when people say history repeats, all they're saying is that there's a set of rules that everything obeys. Economies, the way politicians act, the way humans respond to politicians and money and power and fear and all that, we respond in a very narrow banded way. Mm-hmm. And so once you understand that, it's like, oh yeah, then as circumstances arise that are familiar to something that's happened in the past, we will respond in familiar ways. We do not become perfectly predictable, at least at the level of data that a human mind can process and retain. But boy, oh boy, are we predictable. So that's why when you look at whether it's, the trains worked in Richmond. Oh, great. Let me explain how that works. Like you can point your money at whatever you want, but what you can't do is deficit spend. And so what I want people to understand is socialist policies don't work because they are trying to make everything free. Zoran Mamdani in 2020 tweeted the Communist Manifesto from each according to their need to each, or from each according to their ability to each according to their need, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. You get the idea. And so he tweeted that out. That's not somebody who's like, oh, look at this terrible idea. But it is a terrible idea because it is as if humans are fictional characters. It's like when economists think of humans as a perfectly rational being and that you can map all economic movements based on humans being rational beings that will always do the thing that is the obvious like financial incentive, and then they don't, and they completely surprise you. Mm-hmm. So once you understand that the very thing that capitalism works on top of, which people may love or hate, I don't care, it is how humans work. The very thing that makes capitalism work, again, China used capitalism to rise out of poverty. Every time you want to cure a socialist system, you give it capitalism. Mm-hmm. So the thing that rides on top of is man's inherent impulse to do what is self-serving. Mm-hmm. And the second you take away man's desire to do what is self-serving, it all breaks. And so that's why resentment around people who are good, like they do what is self-serving and they're very good at it, when you resent that person, you become completely unhinged. And let's call a spade a spade. The policies force you to use guns. So I know people get weird about when I give real historical examples about how far that goes, but you need only ask. What if, Drew, your 27-year-old daughter was not living life the way you wanted her to, but you have to force her to? Because everybody has to do what you say, or the system falls apart. So what do? You eventually get guns out. And eventually, if that person just really won't get into line, you lock them up or you kill them. Mao said plainly, because there was a person way back in China's history that was infamous for having buried alive a bunch of people that were disagreeing with him. And he jokingly said, oh, we've done that guy, but 100 times more. And in honesty, it's 100,000 times more. But like, that's where people go. They realize, or they form a mental frame of reference that says, I know best. When you disagree with me, you're going to break society. And so I will go all the way to killing you if that's what I have to do to get the system working in the way that I want it to work. But because humans disagree, humans are intrinsically selfish. Everybody has a different frame of reference, so everybody's pulling in different directions. You run into a problem. You run into a problem that requires violence.
So the swath of people that just voted, 75% of young vote Mamdani got. The Latino and black vote swung back the other way. Are those people just need to burn their hand? They just have to touch the stove and that's what it is?
Yeah, but it's going to take a lot longer than that. So we have an interesting phenomenon now, which I don't know how it compares to the 80s, so I would have to look this up. But you have a scenario where, at least according to the polling markets, native-born Americans did not want Mamdani. Foreign-born Americans wanted Mamdani. So you've got a potential problem. I've not looked closely enough at this, but from a values systems perspective, this makes all the sense in the world to me. You have a values problem where people grow up in other societies. Now, there is no way to overcome your childhood. If you were abused in childhood, it's going to follow you forever. I wish that that weren't true, but it is true. If you were raised in a collectivist society, for instance, that's going to follow you forever. There's no way for you to break free of it. You're just going to have a different frame of reference than other people. If you grew up in America and have an individualistic take on it, that's going to follow you forever. And so as we have ridden on the back of, like whatever, 170 years of just like fighting tooth and nail, clawing our way to the top, and then we've now been coasting because we finally became the big dog. And so we were once Russia fell, we were truly a lone wolf running the world. And that just made it feel like everything goes our way. It's just a state of being. And so out of guilt, we open our doors to anybody and everybody, come on in, not understanding the thing that I've been banging on about, which is all that matters is value system. Value system, value system, value system. If you do not share values, you will end up colliding. And so that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a New York that is being hit with a double whammy. Number one, both the Republicans and the Democrats have been so irresponsible for so long economically that we have just battered the middle class and the working class, just battered to death. And then on top of that, you've now imported so many people with views that are not the American experiment. Remember, the American experiment was a solo experiment. It's not like, we like to think that there's a bunch of countries that are like America. They're not. So America was, hey, come here, you'll probably die, but if you don't, this is the land of opportunity. And then we built something on the back of that. And now we're not that. Now we're not only ourselves learning the same lessons, which is, hey, we just want to take care of everybody, which I certainly understand the emotional impulse. It just violates every law of what the human mind is like and what economies are like. And then the people that grew up elsewhere that wanted to come here because we have more opportunity, or at least we did, they suddenly realize, oh, wait, like I have all these, they're not going to be able to say it consciously, but I have all these feelings from where I grew up, and I want this to feel more like that. And so if you look at what's going on in Minneapolis, you see this. You see, I mean, Ilhan Omar, if I'm not mistaken, has literally said my first priority is Somalia. So if not those exact words, like really close, waving the Somali flag, like all of it's wild. So I'll just beat this drum. Japan is the only other country where I have felt this incredible pull to like, I could spend a very substantive portion of my life in Japan and be happy, but I wouldn't hang an American flag off my balcony. That's wild. Stay in America.
Yeah. So, the Minneapolis thing, the mayor did that at a Somali rally because that's where all the refugees went. And I feel like we have...
But are you saying that is okay because they're just saying whatever they need to get elected?
Yes.
Yeah, that's already...
But I'm also saying that we have a bunch of politicians who will wave an Israel flag and say Israel is America's top
That's crazy.
Yeah, so while I get that...
I'm at least consistent. You will give me that, right?
Yes,
so
I'll give you that.
Anybody doing that, this is a problem. What is your nation? Now, if you want to make a case for me as to why Somalia is incredibly useful, Tom... We've got to have great relationships with Somalia for XYZ reason. I'm here for it. I'm very open, man. Hey, if we're aligned on values, if we can accomplish something that is good for America, but we can accomplish it better together, cool, I'm here for that. Same with Israel. If there is a case to be made as to why, don't just say, we've got history, but like, give me the reasons. Cool, then I can evaluate the reasons. I can evaluate them from the bottom up, and I can say, is that actually going to be better for me here in America? If it is, okay. If it's not, fuck off. So this is wild. People here, okay. I'm going to boil this down to one simple thing. People do not know what their own values are.
I'm a little confused with that term based on what we were just talking about.
So I tweeted Alexander Soros this morning. And I literally said, Dear Alexander Soros, by what metric do you judge the efficacy of your policies? Now, he probably just won't respond, but if he did respond, it would be some vague bullshit, and it won't be a cell in a spreadsheet. It needs to be a cell in a spreadsheet, because that tells me you actually know where you're trying to get people, and you are looking at whether you're making progress towards that. There has to be some metric by which you're saying, yes, we are going in the right direction. Now, we can debate whether that's the right metric to pay attention to, but it isn't going to be something concrete.
There is a rise of like ethical capitalism, reimagining the capitalist system to include more of the income inequality is too great now. We can't just go on business as usual. We tried in the 80s during the Reagan era to kind of cut the regulation and grow our way out of this through business-friendly environments.
And it worked. And it was magically delicious.
I feel like that's a subjective because it's not working as good as it is now. But I think,
go look at the stats. So if what people want is an America where there are no classes, you're never going to get that because that's not the game. The game is to have classes, but you want high class mobility. So America used to rank much higher in the 80s in class mobility than we do now. What I'm saying is the things that broke you can point directly to them. You don't have to be vague. What broke was we started printing money, we started deficit spending, and we bought into modern monetary theory, which says you can print money and it won't be problematic. There was a guy today, he was on a show called Bankless, which by the way, Bankless is a great show. But this guy, at least the clip they posted, was so fucking stupid. I was like, I cannot believe. So he's basically saying, just reprice gold, bro. Like, separate them, come back, and gold's like 20,000, 40,000. Bro, do you understand why Marie Antoinette lost her head? He doesn't get it. Like, people are so trapped inside of, but that would work economically, Tom. Sort of. Like, if you don't mind the mobs coming to your house, I guess. So, oh man, it's like, dude, you can't have wealth inequality at the levels that we have it. You can't do it. You can't do it. Now, you can say that that's a flaw of the architecture of the human mind. Great. But we have the human mind that we have. And people will not look around and see that, my life is getting more expensive by the day. And then there's this tiny percentage of people for whom their life is just getting better and better and better. And by the way, because I don't understand the economy, I can't figure out how to get out of this fucking trap. So it feels permanent. I am permanently here. And they can tell you're the billionaire class, the political class. You are doing this to me. I know you're doing it to me. I don't know what you're doing, but I know you're doing it to me. You are actively putting your boot on my neck, and I won't stand for it. And I'm just going to lash out. And because I don't understand it, I can't even beat you at your own game. So I am going to shoot you, stab you, guillotine you, whatever. And dude, it's already happening. Like, what the fuck? People need to wake up to this is what's going on.
I'm gonna channel some of the energy of the chat, and I'm gonna kind of reflect it, because something that woke in my eyes to it was this SNAP conversation that's been happening over the weekend. People lost their SNAP benefits as of November 1st. Mm-hmm. Some independent governors in different states have been using emergency funds, reallocating things to try to keep SNAP benefits going.
Yep.
But there's been this debate that's been saying SNAP benefits are bad. We need to get people off it. People need to get a job.
Yes.
Then I did some digging, and I realized that there are people on SNAP who work 40 hours a week.
Yep.
If I work, for example, at Walmart 40 hours a week, and I still qualify for SNAP benefits.
Yep.
Some people are saying that is the problem right there, because the government is now subsidizing the profits of the private entity because you're not paying your workers enough that they're still qualified for Medicare while working full time.
Yep.
Now, if they were the 15-year-old that works there on nights and weekends, yes, of course, you shouldn't. Yeah, you're upward mobility. This is not the forever job.
Right.
But as a 35-year-old who does 40, 50 hours a week and still qualifies for SNAP, I feel like that's a problem. Can we at least say that in that specific scenario, the corporation could be held a little bit more responsible for advocating that gap and not having the government pick up the bill?
No.
Okay. How did that break in that?
Here's how you want to look at it. You're very close, and I get what you're saying. You want to think of it in a slightly different way. The government's job is to create the soil, and from in that, what will grow based on what the soil is. And the problem is people vote for things not understanding perverse incentives and unintended consequences. And so there is no law as ironclad as the law of unintended consequences. So this is why you will see Republicans bang on about small government. And what they're saying is humans tend towards corruption. Power tends to coalesce and then basically solidify. And then that power becomes corrupting. And so you end up with like a political class of people that we will often refer to as the deep state, that they're making sure that the world is good for them, but not necessarily good for anybody else. And by the way, they don't even really know like how the economy works. And so, like, this sounds about right. And so they vote for shit like that. And as long as it keeps them in power, that becomes their proxy for, are things working? Am I still in power? Am I still doing okay? Are my kids still in private school? If they are, it's probably all fine. Okay. So now the corporations are going to go, well, I have a fiduciary responsibility to my shareholders, which, by the way, could be anybody. So in a world where the 401k of your grandma is tied up in stocks, especially if they're American, you should want that. You should want that. And that's great for American business. And I can get into how you aggregate capital and why that's so important and all of that. I can get into growth and why it is an absolute modern miracle that the stock market exists. It's a gambling machine, but it's unbelievable. It's a gambling machine where you really can beat the house. You have to be super patient, but you really can beat the house. And so it's like, whoa, you've got this incredible thing. You should want grandma to be tied up in that. You should want that to thrive, and especially to be focused on American companies. And this is awesome. Okay, so we want a world in which those companies are thriving. We want them to have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. We just want to make sure that the average American is a shareholder. Okay, that's where that breaks. But if that were true, oh my God, this would be amazing. So then it becomes, okay, well, if the only ironclad law is the ironclad law of unintended consequences, what do we do about the fact that right now we are in a position where somebody could be working 40 hours a week and not be able to make ends meet? Okay, cool. Ding, ding, ding. We have a problem. You've got workers in the working class, lower class, even in the middle class, that they're struggling to make ends meet.
To the point they qualify for government welfare.
Yes, but I hope you see the trap of that statement, because that has to do with what you need to do to qualify. So if that were a very high bar, well, then a lot less of them will qualify. But that doesn't make the problem go away. So qualifying for SNAP is a way too complex, jerry-riggable, whatever the right phrase is, thing. So instead, let's look at, there should be a sort of rough ballpark amount of your life that if you're buying the sort of middle of the road items at a grocery store, that you only need to make a certain amount of money to be able to do that. We do this with housing all the time. A house should cost roughly whatever it's
25%
like.
25% of your income.
Yeah, I think they say the average house should be like 3 times the cost that somebody makes in an annual salary. And now it's like 5.3 or something. So it's just obviously grotesque. It's way too far off. So there are going to be knowable things like that. I don't know off the top of my head what percentage, if somebody has an average basket of goods to eat for a family of 4, what that should be in relationship to your job. But there is a number. That number is knowable. There will be historical averages. There will be times where we're like, yeah, that makes sense. And then we may look at times like now and go, this is totally out of whack. This is crazy. What I'm saying is you then go, the soil has a problem, meaning the regulatory framework that we have created in this country is creating a problem. The great news is, to oversimplify, this is very easy to pinpoint. It's called globalism. So globalism fucked the middle class and the poor hard. When you look at, did you know that being a part of a union has basically no impact on the private sector? Basically none whatsoever. It doesn't indicate in any way, shape, or form whether you're going to make more money. It matters a little bit in government jobs, but even there, it's like 5 to 12% or something. It's a very small number. I was like, I was shocked. That was not what I was expecting. But if you return to America, the literal millions of jobs that you've shipped overseas, now all of a sudden, your employers are competing in a finite pool of workers. That's where you want people to be. You want the average worker to go, ha ha ha, motherfucker. You can't find people to hire because you can't go to India, because you can't send this to China. So you're going to do this here, not Vietnam.
I mean, yes, if I was a software engineer for Microsoft, but I feel like as a cashier at Walmart, you can't globalism that job.
Yes, you can, dude. You had an open border. How many people fucking flooded across that border? Those are the exact kind of jobs where you have globalized in the way that you're just bringing people in. So if you said, sorry, there's only a certain number of people that we're going to bring into the country every year. And
so you think it's a supply demand? We just need to cut off the supply.
Obviously a supply and demand problem. So
that's going to increase. So the reason that Walmart isn't paying people is because there's so many people who came here, who migrated here, that it's lowering the price that they then charge.
That is 100% correct.
The regulation that we can immediately remove.
Say it like this. They don't pay more because they don't have to. Now, you can try to regulate what they have to pay from the top down, which is moronic. And the reason it's moronic is when you say, hey, that person that's actually only worth $5 an hour, I'm going to make you pay them $20 an hour. They go, I got to find a way around this. So that's just the reality. And a business will find a way to survive in whatever means, cutting people, automating. And you don't want to be like forcing people to pay a certain amount on the dawn of AI. That is about the dumbest policy move ever. And then, of course, people that go, well, these are all top-down problems. Let's just mandate you can't use AI. Oh, great. So then we will handicap ourselves while the rest of the world goes, oh, cool. America just shot itself in the foot. We're certainly going to use AI. Fuck those kids. And this happens all the time. The strong become weak because they start making really dumb decisions. And so this is one of those where things need to build from the bottom up. You want to create a light touch government that says, we're going to make sure that people don't get evil, because they will. If you leave corporations to their own devices, they will become just as tyrannical as a governmental body. And so you need some light checks to make sure that there are things that they can't do to block competition and all that. And ultimately what you're trying to foster is you don't want people to be able to build a moat too easily. You want people to be able to get in and be that new, young, fresh kid that's like, oh yeah, I got a better idea. You want the guy that's been on the S&P 500 for 20 years to lose because they don't innovate and they're not able to create that moat. They're not able to build Foxconn in China and do all the crazy things that like Apple has done. Like that's how you have to address
okay,
this.
let's extrapolate that argument. It's a supply and demand problem. We should abolish the minimum wage everybody should come in as a quote unquote free market labor society. All the illegals should be deported. And then at that point, whatever I can pay you, I will pay you. If you don't like it,
this is your pitch because it's obviously not mine.
No, because going back to it being a supply and demand problem and regulation. So minimum wage is a regulation regulating the wage bottom. You said we should remove those regulations.
Yeah, but you also said we should deport all immigrants, which I've never said.
Nor
will I ever say.
Well, the supply we need to lower the supply in order to increase the price.
Yeah, if you said stop bringing people in, I'd be here for it.
Oh, well, the border's closed now, so the people aren't coming in no more. Yeah.
So you have solved that on a go-forward basis.
Yeah, but if we can't, that's not helping the person who's making whatever they're making at Walmart because it's not the minimum wage.
So now you've got two options. You can deport everybody, which I would not support.
Okay.
Deporting a lot, sure, but not as a default, like get rid of immigrants. That's not my stance. Yeah. The next thing is you need to bring manufacturing jobs back to the U.S. That would be another great way to do this. Far more interesting.
That's not an Amazon or Walmart problem, and it's not helping.
Of course, it's an Amazon and a Walmart problem.
They don't manufacture anything. They're third-party resellers. They're warehousing.
You don't think Amazon manufactures. Are you high? Amazon Basics, where do you think that just magically appears?
Drop shipped from China.
Right. So they're making things in other countries or facilitating. They have no incentive to build here.
Yeah.
I'm saying give them the incentive to build here.
What kind of incentive? What kind of incentive?
I mean, the boneheaded way to do it, and because I have not researched this enough to know what my entire bevy of options are, tariffs are certainly one way. So now it's like, well, your Amazon Basics just got a lot more expensive unless you make them here. So take what Elon is doing. Elon just announced that they're building a chip here in America with Samsung and TSMC. But they're building the chip in America. It is a Tesla designed with Samsung chip built in America. Bro, like 10 years ago, that was a pipe dream. And now we're doing the things that we need to do to bring that back. Great. More of that, please. But like, this is where I go nuts with Mamdani. Now, I don't know all the details of the supposed tax break that was given to Elon Musk by Cuomo, but my default assumption is that Cuomo was trying to use that as leverage to get him to come build in New York. Or is it possible that he was trying to get him to come live in New York? Probably not. But like,
to
both
make a Tesla,
of those things would be phenomenal for the economy of New York, for tax in New York. Like, you can imagine, everybody wants Elon to live in their state because for all of people's bombastic rhetoric, no human in history has paid more in taxes than Elon. Okay? Let that sink in. So this is one of those where I'm like, people have all these distorted views about what's actually happening. But the reality is you can't tax wealth for reasons I'll happily go into if that's what the community is stuck on. But you can tax income. And if he wants to do anything with his money, at some point it turns into income. And that's when you tax him. And when he sold all of his shares, or a huge number of shares, he paid a huge amount of tax. Yeah.
I want to get to this UPS plane crash, but I have one more thing.
I mean, is the community really done with this? If they are, great, we'll move on. But this is what our community is about.
I feel like we're humming right now too. Right. If we regulate offshoring, manufacturing, trying to undo globalization, are there some unintended consequences?
Of course, always. Ironclad law. But I can tell you right now, you've got to, if somebody were to send me Tom, what is the metric by which you judge the efficacy of your policies, it would be how much money is the middle class making? How big is the middle class? Like, is that a nice big bell curve where the vast majority of Americans sit squarely in the middle class? That's my metric.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, okay, what do we need to do to make sure that the vast majority of Americans are just bang on, right in the middle class?
How to, and then increase upward class mobility.
Class mobility is an up and down phenomenon.
Copy.
So you can't, like, for instance, dude, I remember when the Silicon Valley Bank thing happened, it was a mad scramble because for a second it looked like we might have some exposure to Silicon Valley Bank. And so I was in there like moving things around like, oh my God. And it's like, that's the game. Yeah. You can't like bailing everybody out and saying, oh, these are too big to fail. This is how all of this stuff builds up in the system and how it's like, well, the person that can just call the president up and be like, bro, but not me, right? So you can't have that.
I'm getting a lot of capital risk, capital flight thing. New York Post did an article where they said upwards of 1 million people would leave New York if Mamdani gets elected. Jokingly, I had a buddy retweet it. All my family's out there. I have a bunch of friends in New York. He retweeted and was like, okay, make sure you leave your key under the doormat because 1 million less people in the housing market, that would decrease rents. That would make Mamdani's policy, quote unquote, active on day one.
Yeah.
I don't think people are actually leaving. I think that was a scare tactic. I think if you wanted to live in Dubai as a billionaire, you would go live in Dubai.
You just go to Florida. But listen, Florida, New York
like
has lost.
You'll change your ID, but you're not leaving New York.
New York has already lost in the last decade hundreds of millions of dollars in tax revenue precisely because wealthy people are leaving New York. This is not a speculative problem. This is rows in a spreadsheet. So it is happening. It will continue to happen. It will probably accelerate under Mamdani. But you're not going to lose 1 million people. That would be shocking. But you're going to lose people because everybody has their breaking point. Like I haven't left California yet, but literally I think the spreadsheet says, I hope Drew likes Florida if he passes this no property tax thing. Because it's like, bro, if there's no income tax and no property tax in Florida, bro, at some point you can't justify living in California. It gets too crazy. It's too much money every year. Literally at some point, I'm better off just writing off my house and never again paying property tax on it. So it's like, kids, so policies have consequences.
Lisa's in the chat. Are we moving to Miami, baby? Yeah, we're looking at condos right now.
Hold on. My love. First of all, I'm so sad I didn't see you, and I'm so glad I'm seeing you now because, of course, I miss you now more than ever. I am literally looking down every street being like, okay, what would it like to live here? Cool. If he passes that, my dear wife, it really may be unconscionable to stay in
It's definitely going to pass. Are you thinking like mansion on the lake, on the ocean type thing, or are you going to be like some like penthouse live? Like, what is your vibe you think you're going for? I don't see you as a single family 3-car garage person.
I would probably live here for a year before I pulled the trigger on anything. I need to see, one, do I like it enough? Two, where do we want to be? That kind of thing. We'll see. We'll see. I don't want to move, to be very clear. But, buddy, like America's in a cold civil war. It is geographically sorting itself like a deck of cards into suits. And it's going to keep happening. Dude, people think that because there's historical momentum that these things won't change. They change a lot slower. This is part of the deep dive that I wrote that's coming out on Monday, is like getting the timing right is so hard. So Mamdani is a mile marker. He's not an end state. Yeah. So things are moving in that direction because people have been done so dirty and they have misidentified the solution to the problem. And so that's where I'm like, oh man, I don't know that we're going to be able to back out of this one. I don't know that you're going to be able to convince people that that it isn't going to work. This is the snake oil salesman that when you're in extreme pain and they're like, hey, take this thing and it's going to make that pain go away. And then you realize that they're selling you arsenic. And you're like, wait, this is making everything worse. But you had to try it. You couldn't not try it. You're just in too much pain.
Yeah. All right, we got a couple super chats. Anybody has questions, drop them in the chat. We'll try to get to them after it. The chat is jumping today, yo. We love you. Thank you for joining. We're excited. We got Ruben Tiago Official. They said, hi, Tom and Drew. Could you react to the Andrew Tate tweet, The Empire of Lies? 7 minutes, October 4th. It's about the collapse of Europe. Would love your reaction and thoughts on it. I would pull it up, but I know you have some words about Europe just in general.
I don't know what he said, so...
Yeah. We'll pull it up. If you can stay till the bottom of the hour, we got you.
The quick take on Europe is they don't understand values collision. They have imported their own demise. They will fall if they don't figure out what they're willing to stand for. And if they are perfectly happy to say the only thing that we care about is tolerance, then they will lose to Islam. Because Islam is all about, they are very good at saying, this is what we stand for. We're willing to fight politically. We're willing to, historically, they've certainly been willing to fight militarily as well. They will be a formidable foe if this is the direction that they choose to head down. But they already, because they're being, this sounds so terrible to say it this way, but they're being outbred so dramatically that the value system that has the most children and indoctrinates their kids the most clearly and strongly will win.
Man, I hate that that's true, but they do have a tendency to do that. They have a streak going. And while we're taking the sponsorship break, big shout out to ButcherBox.
Dude.
ButcherBox, thanks for your support. As the biggest carnivore I know, Tom, I feel like you're a big fan of ButcherBox.
Dude, a huge fan of ButcherBox. In fact, shout out to ButcherBox, who really helped Lisa rebuild her gut. We owe them a huge debt of gratitude. So ButcherBox is my jam. I have multiple freezers full of ButcherBox. They are incredible. I eat ButcherBox every single day. They're amazing. And I am very grateful for their continued support. They've been supporting us for years. So yes, if you eat meat and you want good quality meat, head to ButcherBox right now. There is, I can see it with my own eyes. There is a link right there in the chat. You can click that QR code on screen or click the link in the show notes, presumably.
And just in time for the holidays, they are giving away your choice of a free ham or a free turkey. So if you want the centerpiece for Thanksgiving, check out ButcherBox.
These guys are wild. They have the best giveaways. Yeah. Don't sleep on it, man. That's they really do it right. These guys are legit.
Shout out to ButcherBox. All right, next super chat we have Sequoia Hall in the chat.
Sequoia
Thank you for the super
Hall,
chat.
What is up?
They said unions worked for pro athletes.
Unions were
collective
unions
bargaining
were effective for pro athletes.
Yeah.
Great. So the stats speak for themselves. They do very little. So in terms of being correlated to people's increase in wages, they are not.
I also would say for pro athletes, they have the benefit of the highest caliber employees. Athletes are also advocating for everybody. I think unions would be a lot more effective if Elon and Jeff Bezos were advocating for unions in those discussions.
If Elon and Jeff Bezos were in unions, which is basically the business equivalent of what you get with sports, is the best of the best of the best of the best.
When LeBron is at the table, it's a much different conversation than if it was just a bench warmer.
Yeah, so God, that's actually a really good, that's really horrible. Oh, Drew, I think you may have found why that statement is brutal in terms of pointing to something and saying, hey, the reason it doesn't work is because it does work in sports. And then you go, the reason it works in sports is because you have rainmakers, people that if you can get them on your side, you will make so much money. And so every team is I got to get them. And if I've got to deal with agents, whatever, doesn't matter. If I've got to deal with unions, whatever, doesn't matter. I need to get the best of the best of the best of the best because these guys will make me so much money, it's ungodly. Whereas the average line worker that's going to be harder for that person to be a 10x line worker, you could be a 10x coder. It's just hard. The nature of the job is such that it's hard to add that much value. And then the nature of the job attracts a certain type of person, and those people are not spending their time optimizing for being a 10x person. There's no gentle way to say that. So yeah, that's pretty damning.
Oh yeah, that's very interesting. And then last one from Marcus Aurelius. U.S. has too many certifications for job. CPAs in the 80s, AAs in the 80s, BAs in the 20s, MBA and CPA. By training, know nothing about taxes. Default is a cert makes us safe. Love the decisions, always an added value to my day. I think they meant discussions. But do we have a education problem? Because this is the first
that's
year.
a very different statement than what he said. We have a horrifying education problem. Yeah. But in terms of over-certifying people, I think it makes sense in certain places. I do want to know that my CPA, I need some sort of credibility check. So either you've got to have Amazon reviews for CPAs or something, but I need some way to know that this person really knows what they're doing. Otherwise, so many people are going to go with bad things. Now, on the education front, it's a catastrophe, and parents should be just absolutely livid with the way that their kids are being educated. It's a catastrophe of biblical proportions.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm even looking at higher education where we have people who have master's degrees, masters. It was the conversation we had with Rudyard. Definitely go check out our conversation. What if all his? It hit home that we have a overeducated population, and I never thought of that in the concentration of society. Like there is these overeducated elites, quote unquote, who a lot of times are the fodder that usher in communism, socialism, because they think because of their certification, they know everything, they should be higher up than what they are. And that's kind of a lot of times the base that then grows on these far left kind of policies that propagate. So
yeah, it's wild. When you look at what's happened to education, it is wild. It's something like in higher education, I want to say like 75 or 85 to 1 left-leaning versus right-leaning.
Wow.
That's crazy. Yeah. And then of the people that are there, it's like they're more committed. So the Democrats that are in education are more likely to donate than the Republicans are. And the way that you could read that is that the Democrats that are there not only outnumber something like 75 to 1. It really is that wild. That may not be the exact number, but is that kind of crazy. And on top of that, they're like farther left than their right-leaning people are right-leaning. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Eric, we good? Yeah.
You're good.
Eric has concerns, everybody. Do you want to take a second? We have technical challenges.
We're good.
Okay. I lost the chat, but it's coming back.
But we got a song out of it.
Hey, that's always good. Sandy Porter. I love Truth Devin because he has like 14 burner accounts. I don't know whose cards you're stealing, Truth Devin, but we are not liable or responsible. Why do you think people vote Democrat or Republican? Do you think it's biology or something else? Why do you think people of Texas vote Republican and New York people vote Democrat?
There's two questions hiding in there. So yes, it's biology, but it's also values. So if you're raised to be left-leaning, you're far more likely to be left-leaning, no matter what your sort of natural proclivities are. But I do think that right and left are evolution's response to how do you keep an AI from completely going off the rails. The more I think about the AI safety alignment problem, the more I am convinced that you need a swarm of AI, that given that we are in a simulation and we are therefore all AI, we already know that one, you still get hyper-destructive AI, but you get a balance, an equilibrium that is born out of having people, AIs, that have competing interests. And through that, you avoid the, because game theory just is a thing, you end up avoiding parasites on either side because the other side keeps them in check. So there's that. And there was another, you said something in the very end that I was like, oh, that's actually a totally separate question. Read the exact question again.
Why do you think people vote in Texas vote Republican, in New York people vote Democrat?
Okay, so what it ends up being, if you really look at a heat map, is it's cities. Cities. So I'm going to guess that Texas tends to be more in aggregate rural, which is why you look at something like Austin, and Austin is very purple. Austin's probably headed full on blue, I would imagine, over time. And so there is something about the urban environment bringing people into really close proximity, probably something to do with you're just so confronted with your neighbor is doing better than you that it triggers all of that resentment that tends to fuel a lot of left-leaning policies. It's going to be something like that. I imagine this has been studied pretty closely, so we could probably get a far deeper take than that. But at the level that I've done the analysis on that, it definitely is urban areas almost exclusively go blue and rural areas almost exclusively go red. It's wild.
All right, and we got one more from Marusha Dark. If tariffs are so bad for the host country as you claim, why do other countries levy them against us? Why do we care if they're just shooting themselves in the foot? Wouldn't we want our rivals to raise theirs to infinity?
Did they say terrorists?
Tariffs.
That makes a lot more sense. Yeah. Okay, tariffs. Tariffs are a tax. So once you understand them as a tax, then it's like, well, what do you think taxes should be used for? So when you tax the importation of a good, you reduce the cheapness of that good to the end consumer. And so you're able to balance things out. And so this is why we move in these cycles of we become protectionist and we become globalist and we become protectionist and we become globalist. These are just the cycles. So all of these things tend to solidify over time. And so what worked and in the beginning was very healthy, like debt, by the way, debt is one of the most powerful things in the world. It is also one of the most destructive things in the world. So fire is such an apt analogy. You can use fire to cook your food or burn the entire village down. So it really comes down to where are we in the cycle?
Yeah. Cool. All right, let's jump over to UPS flight 2976. For those that don't know, this was a cargo flight with 3 people on board that had a crazy explosion. It crashed into a nearby petroleum factory that just rocketed.
Is that what it hit?
That's why. That's where all the fire came from.
Oh my God!
Out in Louisville, we have the video up here. As you could tell, this thing looks like the Tropic Thunder like fire scene, just like a row of fire.
My God.
So
Dude,
much smoke.
There are some other angles where you can actually see the plane. That is brutal. Was it on takeoff? It looked like it was on takeoff.
Yeah, the engine was on fire as it was before it even got off the plane. It looks like it's the left engine off the ground. Yeah. And then this is the one that you see where it's actually on the ground. Like even as it's trying to lift, the fire kind of started early.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So 3 people dead on the plane, another 11 injured, but authorities said that total is only going to...
When you keep going, so we've got even more angles. There's one from the inside of a truck, and you see the plane like break apart and tumble, and oh my God. Like I can't imagine, dude. I can't imagine. Listen, we all die some way, but like, oh, that'd be one of the craziest ways to go.
Yeah. Looking for that other one, but yeah, apparently this was just a bad takeoff.
All right there in the thing. I dropped in at least 3.
Yeah, I have this. This is the second one.
Go to the. Yeah, that's the one. Yep. That's the one. Play that.
Yeah, if we could throw that up. Yeah.
Oh God, look at that.
Sheesh.
Oof. That's so wild. There's other ones. It might even be this one later, or maybe the other. Anyway, there's one that shows like an overhead view, and you just see that line, just a fire. It looks like it's going through like a industrial area.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, that is rough. But there were no other fatalities, huh? Other than the people on the plane.
Yeah, they said that number is going to grow though, because it had, like you said, a path of destruction. Yeah. So that was early reports as of this morning.
Looking at that, I was like, man, you might have dozens of people. So if it's only 11, like. Whew, that is, thank God, that is terrifying.
In related news,
related to plane crashes,
Secretary Duffy's, due
fair.
to the government shutdown, they are considering now shutting down certain American airline airspaces because of the lack of air traffic controllers. For those that don't know, air traffic controllers haven't been paid. TSA hasn't been paid, going on 35 days now, and this is the record as of today.
Oh, it is.
It is.
So
a record
we have broken the record.
We have broken the record from Trump's last one, so he won up himself.
That's crazy.
So then, this is Secretary Duffy speaking about it.
One payment, 80 to 90% of one payment. They missed the second paycheck. On Thursday, they get an email pay stub that'll show what their next payment is going to be. So this Thursday, they'll get an email that shows that their pay stub is a big fat zero. Many of the controllers said,
stressful.
A lot of us can navigate missing one paycheck. Not everybody, but a lot of us can. None of us can manage missing 2 paychecks. So if you bring us to a week from today, Democrats, you will see mass chaos, you will see mass flight delays, you'll see mass cancellations, and you may see us close certain parts of the airspace because we just cannot manage it because we don't have the air traffic controllers. The controllers.
Yeah, and then in related news, Houston TSA has literally walked off the job, leaving thousands, it looks like hundreds, maybe thousands of travelers just stranded.
Yeah. And this is all happening while the 3 of us are here in Florida. I was like, oh, this will be fun.
Perfect timing. Perfect timing. We talked before we started rolling that I had a delay on Sunday because LAX had to restrict airspace because they only had so much air traffic controllers. So our flight was pushed back an hour to allow other traffic, I guess, to coalesce. So it seems like it's only getting worse. How do you feel about us breaking the record for government shutdown?
This is horrific. Yeah. So there are two things going on right now. So one is just we have a world that we expect to work a certain way. The government has made certain promises. You need to make good on those promises. So there are things that I wish we had never agreed to fund, but if you've agreed to fund it, then you've got to fund it. And if you're going to unwind that, you need to do it slowly. You can't just furlough God knows how many people and then be like, oh, and by the way, some of you are never getting paid and we're just ending your job. That is a very rough way to go about it. So in the beginning, when they were doging it and they were like offering people exit packages and all that, I was like, yeah, that's cool. I'm here for that. You reduce the strain on the economy. First of all, like even if you're not going to look at it, just the human cost of it all, you want to see that done as elegantly as possible. And I don't know who I'm mad at exactly, but I'm mad at the way that America reacted to Doge. I really, God, what do I feel? Despair, hopelessness, just that one really wound me up. It's like people had knee-jerk reactions because it was Elon, because it was people saying they were going to cut the budget. People just went off their rocker and they should have been like, yes, please. Like, even if this is just a nod to now getting into fiscal responsibility, like I want to remind everybody, the word fiscal means government spending. Fiscal responsibility is government spending responsibly. We've used fiscal now so loosely just to mean basically monetary that people don't understand. Fiscal policy is government spending. Government spending is so unhinged. So when I say fiscal policy is the problem, that's what's driving this. Once you understand that the government deficit spends and the government covers bailouts and the government inflates the currency, you realize, oh, we have a spending problem. So you need to reduce spending. So anyway, seeing people react like that to Doge just really wound me up because it's going to make their lives worse. They're literally, it's like when you're training to be a lifeguard, one of the first things they teach you is a drowning person will drown you. They don't have a single qualm with that. They are just trying to get oxygen. So as you get closer, like they'll push you under, they'll hold you down. So you have to be, if they're not calm, you have to disengage. And I always remember thinking, ooh, that's rough. Like you go out there, they're panicking and you just got to be like, sorry, not going down with you. But that really is the reality. And so that's what that felt like, was these are drowning people. And as we get closer to try to help, they just start throwing punches, pulling us under. It's like, oh my God, like, come on. So hated that. So that's the second part of this, is that we have, it's like 40% of, fact check me on this, please. I believe 40% of Americans work for the government now. You can't do that. You can't do that. It's either 40% of GDP or 40% of people buy per capita. You absolutely cannot do that. Hard pass, out. It's a sign of sickness. Like there's, call it, I don't know, 7% is reasonable. 40% is, you can't do that.
I see a much lower percentage.
What percent?
I see federal government is 1.9%.
No way.
The public sector is 13.4, according to, this is as of 2022.
I'll have to look this up if it's GDP, but there was some number that either was number of people that work for the government or GDP that was so horrifying. Anyway, I'll have to fact, maybe I'm just wrong. That's always possible. I'll have to look
GDP
it up.
Is 23% of government spending.
Okay, that's zero, just for the record.
Yeah.
So government work should not count for GDP. So that gives you an idea of how little we actually grew.
I'm seeing somebody said it in the chat that basically this is just the Democrats and the Republicans trying to arm wrestle.
What's this? The shutdown?
And whoever says
everybody's using it for political leverage. That's all it is. Full stop. End of story.
Here it is from VOD PJ. You just put random characters. That's not coherent. The blue team and the red team have tactically agreed to torture Americans until one side cries uncle. This is a Mexican standoff with starving Americans as the victims.
Yep. Yeah. Perfectly said.
Yeah.
Perfectly said. Yeah. We have somehow come to a sense that the government, we like are at the whims of the government. The government works for us. And so if they are making our lives worse, we have entrusted the wrong people. So yeah, look at the outcomes. Look at the outcomes.
And the nasty thing about it is the Senate is still getting paid.
Dude, that is.
I feel like that's the biggest slap
buddy.
in the face.
So A, not only a slap in the face, B, like if you have any honor at all, like you immediately stop collecting your paycheck. Immediately. This is why I say we got to bring back virtue, Drew. Like we've got to bring back people wanting to be honorable, people that can define. This is my value system. This is what I was saying earlier. People don't even know what their value system is. Like, what would you fight for? What would you die for? Oh man, I hope Lisa's still in the chat, but I have a feeling she's gone by now. But this is something that she and I go in a death loop over. So one of my values is that as the husband, it is my job to absorb discomfort whenever humanly possible. So for instance, if one of us had to go hungry, it's going to be me 100% of the time. If one of us has to have an uncomfortable seat, it's going to be me 100% of the time. Just like on and on and on and on and on. And so Lisa always seems confused by that, as if I'm telling it to her for the first time, because she has clearly a running algorithm that says we should share the pain and suffering or whatever. And I totally get if some people, that's how they want to do it. It's not how I want to do it. For me, when it comes to that, now there are things that I expect my wife to do that other people may think are unhinged. But yeah, like on that, danger is for me to absorb 100%. So all of those kinds of things, like I would never look at Lisa and be like, you didn't make enough money. But I hold myself accountable to that nonstop violence. So because I can articulate those things, Lisa and I can navigate. And by the way, I know what I do and don't do. People don't take the time to define their values. And that becomes a problem. And clearly either the Senate has defined their values in a way that I find so disgusting, or they haven't defined their values and are therefore just acting disgusting by default. But that's disgusting. Disgusting.
And shout out to Sequoia Hall fact checking us about the 40% number. So technically it's 36.2% of GDP. This was as of 2023. So I'm sure we kind of grew. And that includes, for those that wanted the information behind it, that's government funding, which includes state and local funding. And as you know, teachers, Department of Education, school unions, the things that are paid by property taxes, technically all that is government spending.
That is definitionally a hard pass. You are in a sick state of affairs.
I wish I had a better answer for this government shutdown. I wish I had something more interesting to talk about, but at some point in time, I don't know where that line is. Have you ever been in a tough negotiation, maybe at work, where it's kind of like the standoff, where it's like, I'm hurting other people by doing this. I need to cave. How do you balance that pressure from, I need to do this so that way my team can get this win that long term I think would benefit the most amount of Americans, versus the current pain is too much to handle. Should I just?
For the most part, you can map out ahead of time. There's a train going by. I was like, what
did you guys hear the train? If you hear the train, put a train emoji in the chat, or just put train if you're on your laptops.
So you can map out ahead of time. These are the things that I'm fighting for that are an absolute must, that if I don't get those, I'm willing to. And then you map out how far you would go. And then you map out what your breaking point is. You should go into a negotiation knowing all of those things. Now, there's always going to be surprises and things you didn't expect, or an outcome that maybe you didn't think of ahead of time, all that, for sure. But you should have that kind of stuff mapped out. I think the thing that would really surprise, maybe not our community, because I do feel like we collect a pretty bright group of engaged people, but the average person, I think, would be very surprised to see the gap between the way politicians present themselves and the way they really are. And so the behind the scenes, all the negotiations, that kind of stuff neither side cares if the American people are suffering. Both of them will say that's all they care about. The reality is they want to get reelected. And so they've got a position, they've got a spin. Now, I think they also both have agendas that they are trying to push through. If you're going to play the game, play the game. And so all of the rock star people are going to make a lot of noise around what they're trying to do. They won't all pass bills, but they'll all make a lot of noise. The rock stars. So the rock stars get it. I've got to show leadership. I've got to say we should be doing this thing. This is the part that Mom Donnie is very good at. Is he's able to articulate the outcome that he wants. He is retarded and therefore does not understand how he's actually going to get you there. But he at least can say I'm going to get you free stuff. Okay, great. So he can make a lot of noise. He can go up. He can argue. He's good at debate in that he knows how to obfuscate. People will say that he's a weak debater from the perspective of he's not going to be able to argue cause and effect because that's not what he's about. Once you understand that's not what he's about and that he understands it's better to think of him as an entertainer who is very good at emotionally moving people. And his rap genre now is politics. And so you've got gangster rappers, you've got pop rappers like Will Smith, and you've got political rappers like Mamdani. And their game is to go out and say things that make people feel a certain way, and that's that. Mm-hmm. He's very good at that, very talented. And this is where I think people make a mistake. Obviously, when I say he's retarded, I mean that tongue in cheek. He is quite smart. Mm-hmm. So that is, you want to make sure that you understand how your opponent really is, that you can really think through this. But anyway, people would be very surprised to see that their politicians are just wildly different creatures when they're not having to pose for the populace.
Do you think that, I don't know if this is the populist moment agenda or not, but do you think the spreadsheet politician can be elected? Is that possible? Because I feel like the best politicians that I can remember over the last 20 years have always been vibes. The actor Ronald Reagan, like, to Obama, to even Trump, he's an entertainer. He was a reality
Vibes
TV show.
is always going to be a part of it, for sure. Chemistry is a big deal. And so having chemistry with the country, having chemistry in backroom deals, all of that stuff goes a long, long way. Watching the All In podcast deal with Trump was really fascinating because even Jason Calacanis, you could see, was struggling. He found Trump charming, but he didn't want to say that I found Trump charming. So it was fun to see that. But that's just how politicians are. Like when you sit down with them, if they're just pure spreadsheet, and I'm going to guess, I don't know Thomas Massey well at all, but given that he wears the debt pin, I'm going to guess this is him, that he's like the spreadsheet guy. Yeah. And so when you're with them, it's probably a little spectrum-y. There isn't the charm and charisma that you're going to get with an AOC. Like, did you see AOC? First of all, super attractive. Yeah. Second, she's got her hair like coiffed over to the side. And she's like, I've got some tea for you, right? And she spills the gossip. And I was like, I'm entertained right now. There is something, even though I think her policies are murderous, she is engaging. So it's like, Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make with all of those decorations is that there is a wild difference between what they're going to be like privately, the way they think about the world, which would disgust people, the way that they'll use people as pawns, manipulate them, move them around the chessboard, all of that, and the way that they present themselves. I think about this a lot as a CEO. So no one will believe anything you say now because you're on camera and you're sitting next to me, but I know this to be true. So if somebody gets sick, for instance, I really do want them to rest. And so even though it slows the company down or whatever, like, one, it's what I want to do, and I don't want to treat anybody on my team differently than I would want to be treated. So I'm going to extend to people the thing I want extended to me. So if somebody's sick, I'm going to say, hey, let me know how I can help. I'd go get somebody, or if I'm being really honest, I would send somebody to go get you chicken broth if that's what you needed. I want you to sleep in and get your rest. And so for me, my ultimate game is I want to earn my own respect. And so a huge part of earning my own respect is being who I am, outward facing and inward facing. Now, listen, I talk to my wife in a way that I would never talk if I were on camera. So don't think that I don't have gears. I definitely have gears. But in terms of my value system and what I believe and don't believe, it's very consistent. And so people would be like, oh, wow, like he's much more playful when he's with his wife. Like the number of times I will be silly on camera will be very low compared to how often I'm silly in real life, because my wife has rewarded me to no end because she loves that side of my personality. So anyway, politicians are not like that.
All right, I got to grab it, Eric. Let's go to that AOC clip that you brought up about the tea. So for those that don't know, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been pivoting recently about the government shutdown. She was on The View. She's been very vocal in opposition about some of the Republican policies, just as she was about the Democratic policies.
Can change.
AOC says she has a reason behind her sudden switch.
Here's some tea for you. MTG, people are like, oh my God, she's saying all of these things. Like, what's gotten into her lately? Oh, like she's bucking against Trump. She's bucking against the administration. Marjorie Taylor Greene wanted to run for Senate in Georgia. She wanted to run for Senate earlier this year in the state of Georgia. She wanted to be the Republican nominee for Senate. So She was gearing up for that statewide race, and Trump told her no. Trump said no. And the White House and Trump land shut down Marjorie Taylor Greene's personal ambitions to run for Senate. And she has been on a revenge tour ever since.
Yeah. So that's the reason for the sudden switch. It's weird hearing it the behind the scenes, because we're all like, nah, they're probably doing this behind the scenes. This is probably a political move. And then hearing somebody like AOC come out and say, yes, this is definitely a political move.
This is one of the things, I don't know whether I love this or hate this, but the social media age, the fact that we're going to hear ultimately so much of this stuff come out is, God, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't here for it. I want the tea. Like,
give me all the tea.
When she like leaned in, I was like, yeah, you go, girl. You tell me.
She did look good too. Oh my goodness.
I'm not going to lie. She is very attractive. And we can all be mad that God saw it fit to make us care, but we care. And so she knows how to play it. Yeah. God bless her.
How do we quantify that? I know you're Mr. Metric. You always want KPIs to kind of steer us toward. Is there a KPI we can put in Congress? I know we joke about the Warren Buffett thing. Every time the deficit is too much, everybody gets fired.
Whoa. I am not joking. They should do that.
That it is good, but everybody would get fired. That's like me advocating for policy at impact theory. Like, if our numbers don't get to 1 million, I get fired. Like,
they will do whatever they need to get elected, and so they would cut the budget. And they would just be like, we're not going to get reelected unless we trim the budget.
After we fire this whole wave of people.
Look, they're never going to do it because they don't want to put that restriction on themselves. Yeah. But in terms of it generating the behavior that we want, it would. And so that's one of those, this is how you get a small government light touch. You put a regulation like that that's just, it's blind. Yeah. And so your favorite politician may get caught in the crossfire. And it's like, yep, tough break is what it is. And if you're willing to live and die by those policies, cool.
Yeah. So outside of the fiscal one, is there something we can do where it's the government has been shut down more than this time? People need it. Like, I just feel like they're gonna end up signing something. Somebody's gonna cave, and then in 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever that number is, we're gonna be back here again. Just like the debt ceiling conversation. Every 18 months, we're having that argument. Is there something mechanistically you think we should put in that can kind of prevent that? I'm just trying to figure out how we can fix Congress without firing everybody through a dictatorship and going straight Mao and just like killing and reinstalling a bunch of other people. Like,
I mean, there are things that you could do mechanistically. I'll give you ideas. Yeah. It's entirely possible that the Constitution blocks some of what I'm going to say. Yeah. So this is where I'm not a constitutional scholar. So it is very possible that the things I'm going to put forward are like a business guy thinking through these problems, not a politician. But you could do things like you put dead hand switches. So if the government is shut down for more than X number of days, budgets get cut in the following ways to bring us back to solvency, and the government automatically reopens. So for instance, if you said something like, every department is cut in equal measure with the exclusion of the Department of Defense and whatever, pick the entitlements, with some sort of like caveat, right? Yeah. So it's like, if they're over X percent of the budget and it's not wartime, then they can still be cut up to this amount. Yeah. Like, you'd have to get pretty specific. But if you had a dead hand switch like that, then unless one of the parties is like, that's what we actually want, and that's the only way that we can get it, then nobody's going to let the government go that long. Now, admittedly, my biases are leaking like crazy because my brain goes to what is the dead hand switch that I would want, because that's also one of the things that's happening right now, at least at the level of rumor, is one of the things that's being said is that there's a certain number of days, I forget how many, but it's not that many. It's like 45 or something. And Trump is able to, or the administration, whatever administration's in power, is able to start making permanent layoffs. Yeah. And so it's entirely possible that the Republicans are like, well, we win either way. So either we rebuff all of their desire to grow the budget in ways that Republicans don't like.
Extend the ACA, roll back some of the big beautiful bill cuts. Yeah.
Correct. Or we get all the way to, we get to start firing people. And now we can actually start tightening up the government.
Those Doge effects that we wanted to do that were overturned can now be done freehand.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I want to see the size of government reduced so dramatically, so dramatically. So yeah, I am it. Look, doing it all at once is probably a bad idea. I would much rather, in reality, I would much rather see it happen slowly. But if you back me into a corner, I would rather see it happen fast, deal with whatever pain that causes over the next 2 or 3 years, and have it permanently be smaller than it never happen. And again, what is the metric I'm steering by? The thriving middle class, as defined by just what percentage of Americans are in a well-defined middle class. Like, I'm not trying to pull a fast one. Like, the middle class is everything. The life is so much better when the middle class is thriving. It's better for the wealthy. It's better for, obviously, the middle class. So it's like, dude, I don't understand how people have lost sight of when somebody is in the middle class and they earned their way there, like the euphoric vibes of like, not only did I get here, but I earned my way here.
Slack. Okay, so we're at a point right now where like I think there's going to be some permanent damage from this, because just like Secretary Duffy said, you know, a month without a paycheck is hard for everybody. Like 60% of Americans can't afford $1,000 emergency bill. I don't know how many percentage of Americans can afford missing 2 paychecks, but I feel like that number is higher than 60%. Like, they're going to feel some reasonable pain.
They're going to feel a lot of pain,
yeah. If we extend to the 45 days and then those people are now permanently cut, let's say in a perfect world they get back pay, but now they have lost their job.
Yep.
Is this similar to the AI utopia that we've been pitching as well, where there's just going to be a wath of pain, then hopefully they can find purpose and the private sector can kind of help out on the other side of that, but we're just going to have to go through that valley of the second and third year of the Trump administration. We'll kind of have bread lines, and then by year 4, everybody's back to humming. Like, because we can't act like, 40% of GDP disappearing is going to just make like people just walk into Walmart and get a job. Like, there's going to be some pain there.
There's going to be some pain there.
Yeah.
It could have a psychological effect where people lose confidence in the markets. That is for sure. It is one of those where there is no way out of the situation that we're in right now without pain. There is no way. There is no way. So now it just becomes a question of how effectively can we deploy a beautiful deleveraging. And I will say the chances that we do a beautiful deleveraging aren't approaching 0. They are 0.
Oh, 100%. Like, it's never happened.
We psychologically do not have the makeup in America to do that. So we're in a position where beautiful deleveraging is not going to work. No one's even going to try it. So the only thing that we're going to try right now is growth. That's it. We're going to try to grow our way out of this. And remember that if the Democrat Party gets their way, that they will accelerate the demise, because the demise is very simple to map out. It is how much are you deficit spending.
And when you say accelerate that demise, like you're just saying they're going to be spending more money at a faster rate than the Democrats are.
So it is money we don't have.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it as completely clear.
They're gonna deficit spend, and they will deficit spend even faster than the lunatic Republican Party. So now you have a problem where you lose in both ways. Just one way you lose a little bit faster. So there is right now. I will credit Trump with he's at least delusional enough to believe that he can grow his way out of this, and he is trying to grow his way out of this. I don't see any way to grow your way out of the problem unless you balance the budget first. If the big beautiful bill had balanced the budget and then he was doing all these things, I would then actually become the pro-Trump guy that people think I already am, because I'd be like, okay, we have a balanced budget, so now we've stopped all the bleeding, so we're no longer damaging the middle class and the working class, and we're going to try to grow GDP. Now, I think the way that he would grow GDP would not match my ideal scenario, but nonetheless, at least we would be moving in the right direction, and that 122% of debt to GDP ratio would start going down. So if that were the case, I'd be like, yes, he is unhinged. Yes, he has authoritarian tendencies, but he's at least bringing back a thriving middle class. And by the way, I don't think he has the amplitude of authoritarian impulses that people try to map him to. So I don't believe he's ever going to go anywhere near down the path of Hitler. I don't think.
He's doing his best to try, though, with the National Guard marching through the parks and the parade.
To look like it.
So first of all,
read Mein Kampf. read Mein Kampf and you're going to be like, oh, I get it. There's a real scale problem here. And then second, look at the footage of Hitler, bro. So if politics are a genre of rap, he was gangster rap. Like, it was wild.
He wasn't smiling and waving like Mamdani.
He was unbelievably effective at deranging people and getting them to get behind murderous ideology. It was wild. And when you listen to him, like, imagine Nick Fuentes, but like really good at like big marches. Put Nick on meth and you're maybe, for real, he was a total speed addict. Whether it was meth or not, I don't think it was meth, but he was a speed addict. He was totally out of his fucking mind, but he had a very clear, unflinching, I know the way, I'm going to get you guys all out of this. Like, it's got to be me or nothing else. He was wild, dude. He was looking at, from the beginning, he was looking at Russia and saying, they're going to be our American dream. So the Ukraine is going to be our American West. Yeah. And Germans are going to get to spread into the Ukraine and live on the frontier and take over all of that. And it's going to be amazing. Mm-hmm. Now, listen, Trump says wacky shit about Canada being the 51st state, but he's not saying, I can't fathom, even in the darkest of closed rooms, that he's saying to somebody, Canada's our new American West. We're just going to expand in.
He had his going for Greenland for when
we're going to take everything. So Greenland is a military installation, and he always approaches it from, your country's doing you dirty. We will do you well. You're important to us anyway. These are bad things. I hated it when he was doing it then. If he starts doing it again now, I hate it. What he's doing in Venezuela is horrifying. I wish he would just talk about fucking China so we could at least understand this is just about China. It's not about the oil, I don't think. Partly, I guess. But like, the big play is China can't have you. That's the big play. So now, at least if he were being honest about what's going on, we could say, okay, do we want to be bullies like that? Yeah. And then I'm going to say, no, motherfucker, we don't. Get better policies. Get better policies. That's how we win people over. We don't try to out-China the world. We don't try to strong arm and bully and all that shit. Be savvy like you were in World War I and World War II, where you're like, we are the greatest manufacturer on planet Earth. We know our worth. And dear Europe, if you guys want to keep killing each other, that's your business. We'll fund the shit out of it. We'll loan you money. We'll give you weapons, and we'll get rich off this while you fucking destroy yourselves. If America wants to play that game, I'm here for it. If America wants to be some asshole bully that's running around the world, slapping everybody around, putting $50 million bounties on Maduro's head, bro, that shit is fucking Wild West. So this is not me saying, oh, I dig Trump. I like the way. No. What I'm saying is he's not Hitler. So he's got his own set of problems. And by the way, dude, okay, now I'm really going to get sucked into a lot of internet drama stuff. But like, have you watched Nick Fuentes?
Yeah.
He's actually about that life.
That was literally my next question. Question. Okay, we had our conspiracy hat on. We had our optimism hat on.
Holy shit!
I'm gonna call this one our dunce hat. Like we gotta be a little bit elementary. We're gonna be very remedial about this conversation, and I'm doing this intentionally because people are attributing this and it's starting to catch steam.
People are attributing what and what's catching steam?
I'm gonna run that through.
Yep.
As Trump comes in office, there are a sect of people. It could be 50%, it could be 1%. That doesn't matter to me. There are a sect of people that feel empowered in their anti-people of color, anti-LGBTQ,
And you think that's because of Trump?
I'm not saying that's because of Trump. I see that as the soil in which those things can grow a little bit more freely.
Yes, it's the soil in which Trump grew. It's the soil in which racists grow. Yeah. I'll give you that.
And Nick Fuentes, I feel like, is not even a rose in that. He's a weed in that.
That plant is well nourished.
Yeah. So to your point of populist leaders have to have an audience, I don't think Nick Fuentes is creating these races. I think he's just assembling them.
Right.
Is any of that responsibility laid at the feet of Trump, or is it because I use it to get in, I cannot now pivot on that? I have to kind of
Man, listen, for all of my engagement with Trump, I don't get any racist vibes. Yeah. And if you look back, like think about how Tyson has talked about Trump. Like when nobody was there for me, Trump was there for me. So Trump just does not strike me as a guy that's parsing the world based on race. Maybe class, but even there, he's like, he appeals to the working class guy. Like that's not...
But again, the soil that creates those things.
Let's take the Trump thing of it all first.
Okay.
So if you want to bag Trump up and say Trump bad, it's obviously on the authoritarian side. Like he has authoritarian tendencies. Like he really does trust himself. He really is all for like, I'm just going to gobble up as much power as I can until somebody stops me. I just think he'll stop when somebody stops him. I don't think he rolls up with a gun like Hitler and just fucking murders people. Hitler legitimately just murdered people that stood in his way. That does not, I'll just polymark it right now. Trump does not end up killing people he doesn't kill average citizens who stand up against him. He will fucking
That's it. There's a Venezuelan boat.
Boats every 9 minutes. So I'm saying in the way that like Hitler would, I don't think he ever did it himself, but he would roll up into a room and be like, are you getting on board or not? No, boom, dead. That, I don't see Trump doing that. That's what I'm saying. There's like a scale difference here.
Copy.
Okay, so now you've got the other side, like what the fuck is happening right now that where race, like racism, like proper racism is en vogue. To me, this is all explained by the economy. So we have an algorithm in our brain that I call School of Fish. That algorithm says that they're not like us, which I've started learning more about, Drew, and it's making me very sad. But we have a they're not like us algorithm running in our brain. Now, what can we glom onto? We should glom onto, from a values perspective, they're not like us. But instead, we glom onto the thing that's easy to see, which is from a melanin production perspective, they're not like us, which is wild. But nonetheless, that's what we do. And so now we've got all these economic problems, which make us feel anxious. We need to transmute that anxiety into anger because anger feels a lot better. Just as a PSA, I'll remind everybody, when you open someone's skull and you put electrodes into their emotional centers and you touch all the different emotions and then say, which emotion would you like me to touch again? People say anger. So anger just has so much clarity. It's a strong emotion, meaning you feel good, you feel confident. So as the anxiety is transmuted into anger, you have to have something to aim the anger at. Given that you already have an algorithm running in your brain that says these people are like me, these people are not like me, and the algorithm is unfortunately broken and goes immediately to what you can see, not to what actually matters, people will glom onto that. Then you get demagogues who are very good at the rhetoric of they really are your problem. Like they're creating a problem for you. And white people got battered about for the last, 20, 30 years. That was a mistake. What's his face tried to warn people, Douglas Murray tried to warn people, you will back them into a corner and they will group up and they will come back out. So anyway, that's really stupid. It's stupid to back any group into a corner. But we did it. And so here you've got them coming out. And so it's really fucking dumb, in my opinion. But yes, the economy has created the soil in which racism will grow and blossom, much to my dismay.
This is Breland Hollyhan. He had a good way to kind of condemn it in the way that I was surprised to see a conservative do. And he
racism?
Condemn Nick Fuentes and that fact of it. Let's kind of have your reaction to this video.
There's a cancerous ideology spreading on the right from a small but loud group I call the woke right. They scream hate and pretend it's courage. Here's the problem though. The left didn't disavow their cancerous ideology years ago, when the squad was just a radical fringe having press conferences. And now that loud minority grew into their base, and that movement is about to elect a socialist to run America's biggest city. If we don't call out our own in the name of winning elections, this fringe will drag our party off a cliff like the squad did to the left. I refuse to let that happen to us. You can be a bold conservative without being a bitter one. We can call out bad things the Israeli government does without blaming the Jews for every minor inconvenience in our life. Just like we can call out AIPAC for bankrolling American politicians and say that should be banned. Just like we can demand secure borders while getting only the best and brightest in America without banning all legal immigration. I mean, I didn't fight to end the old establishment of the Grand Old Party and kick out the neocons just to replace it with hate. We're supposed to be the party of faith and freedom, not anger and chaos. If we sit on our hands and allow the mainstreaming of people fantasizing rape, idealizing Stalin, and proudly saying they're Team Hitler, we don't only lose every single election going forward by legitimizing the lie that the left says we're Hitler Jr., but we also lose the moral war that conservatives are here to uphold. Hate killed the left. If we're not careful, we're going to be next.
I felt that this was a really good video because I think that just how every Democrat is painted as a person who wants to turn your child into a trans, turn them trans and take them to a drag brunch. I feel like the right now is getting painted with these broad strokes that is like, wait, traditionally the Conservative Party after slavery, after the flip, after the Civil War, has been the party of Jim Crow, has been some of these things that have happened. Again, after the flip, I know Democrats traditionally back in the day were the racist party, quote unquote. Now you have Nick Fuentes coming out, much conservative, and much like, yes, I am racist. Yes, it is true. We are on the right. Yes, we are here. And that now is, to Billy's point, is now a growing base within that woke right. How should they go about condemning it? How should they go about distancing themselves? Where just a few weeks ago, there was that group chat and J.D. Vance was like, oh, those are kids being kids, and tried to like sweep it under the rug.
Yeah.
So what's the right way for, the administration to handle it so that way this does not become the right's version of, trans crazy quote unquote politics?
Stand on your values. Let the chips fall where they may. I think about this a lot with being on camera. So I see it as my job, if I'm going to be on camera, to try to be the greatest of all time. The metric by which I will judge that are numbers. However, if I lose my soul in doing it, then that would all be for naught. So there's an amount that I can change. My behaviors change the way that I am on camera. I enjoy being on camera far more now than I did even a year ago, because I'm learning to truly be myself on camera, which has been a lot of fun. And if that means that I stall out because I don't have the chops, I'm not entertaining enough, I'm not interesting enough, my ideas aren't sharp enough, whatever, well, then I lose. Fair enough. But I'm not going to say things I don't believe. I'm not going to jump on bandwagons that will make me lose respect for myself in order to become number one, because even though I'm trying, it's not as interesting to me as having my own respect. So politicians do not seem to imbue that. The people that ultimately get to power are the ones that are like, okay, when I'm forced to make a choice between like saying what I believe and getting elected, I'm going to get elected. And I'm sure they tell themselves a story that goes something like, well, I've got to be in power to enact change. And so if I've got to say the same to get into power, I'll make sure that when I'm there that I'm enacting change. And I'm just, look, I'm very fortunate that I played the business game first, had a massive amount of success there, and so I can afford to play a different game where I don't have to pander to people, and if this all goes away and nobody pays attention, shout out to all the people in the crowd that are down with anime video games, because that'll be the next zone. Like, I'll just be there, and if it goes back to when I was live streaming and there was 7 of us, and I was playing video games literally with just 7 people, and it was like, cool, then that's where we're at. So that to me is really the answer to all of this. You condemn people by saying, these are my values. The thing that they're espousing when they say that thing is anathema to my values or is exactly what I believe. So when I hear Nick Fuentes talk, because admittedly I'm still very early in my Nick Fuentes journey, so but I was startled by how he's just racist. But he'll say shit like, and this was in the Tucker interview, so this wasn't a long time ago. It's like 2 weeks ago. He was like, I remember the date, December 18th. And Tucker was like, why do you remember that? And he's like, because it's Joseph Stalin's birthday, and I'm a big admirer of his. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, Joseph Stalin murdered God knows how many tens of millions of people, outdone only by Mao. So it's like, what? So anyway, that is so wild to me, where I'm just like, stop. Tell me what is the metric by which you will judge the success of your policies? I'm going to need to fucking hear that, because if not only does Stalin not trip your "this is bad" switch, it tripped your "this is someone to admire" switch. Bro,
whose birthday I remember.
Yeah. Hold on. If you've read the Gulag Archipelago and you still like Stalin, fuck you in all capital letters. Like, that is so crazy. Dude, that is moral rot. So I'm not saying arrest him. You shouldn't arrest people just because they like murderous dictators. But oh boy, should that be the world's easiest thing to say, Nick, you might be a lovely person with moral rot, but the moral rot is there, and it's very easy to point out when you are saying "I admire," like not saying, hey, listen, anybody that's able to organize a country so effectively that even as the country is destroying itself, people are just still following this guy, like that is a level of draconian control that is a sight to behold. And we need to learn. It's a horrible lesson, but we need to learn it. Okay, that's very different than I admire this person. That's where I was like, okay, you lost me. Like that's so crazy. I could get why young people today feel like, well, I've got to embrace my white identity because I got kicked around for so long and I got raised that whiteness is evil and all white men are bad and all that. Yeah, okay, that's going to derange kids.
As in, like, I don't have a place to go. Is that the...
You have forced them to identify as that because you beat them up for being that. So they're going to turn to the other people that just got beaten up, and we're going to come together and say, we're not going to stand for this anymore. This is exactly how governments come into... Governments are just official gangs. So once you understand a government is an official gang that then brings the whole country together and is like, we'll fucking fight anybody, you're pushing them into a gang because they will have felt weak by getting battered around in the education system or whatever. Nobody wants to feel weak, so they figure out how they can feel strong. First of all, it's just, I'm going to claim my identity. Why am I feeling bad about this? Fuck that. I'm not going to feel bad about this. Then it's like, oh, I'm going to look around and find other people that have gone through the same thing that look like me, and we can make each other feel strong, and we're saying things back. We get the echo back from them. Yeah, this feels good. Yeah, you're making me feel stronger and better and cool. Now let's go. We got this. And like, that's dumb. Don't push people into that position. But if you're going to, I'm not going to be surprised when they react. I'm always going to be surprised when the largest mass murderers are people that you admire. Like, listen, if a guy running a dating site said, oh, I remember that date. Why do you remember that date? Oh man, because it's Ted Bundy's birthday. And, I'm just a huge admirer of Ted Bundy. I'd be like, I am canceling my subscription to this dating site fucking immediately.
Where's the help button?
Yeah. So, dude, what? So anyway, that one was disqualifying. I was aghast. I clutched my pearls.
Yeah. I got beef with Nick Fuentes, but you know who else I got beef with?
Let's hear it.
Butcher Box, because they got the best meat. They got the best meat in the
Butcher
business.
Box is never going to sponsor us again because that is twice now that you've linked them to the most horrifying things that we're talking about. If I could though say, Butcher Box really is amazing.
Seriously, guys, it's Thanksgiving. Don't buy a turkey. Subscribe to Butcher Box. They'll give you one for free.
I shouldn't have stepped on your line because that was absolutely fantastic. You were correct, Drew. I was like, wait, Drew, they're giving them away.
They're giving away. Get all the turkeys. Seriously, guys, your support the Butcher Box and all our sponsors help continue the show.
And Butcher Box is good for you.
Yeah.
I eat so much Butcher Box. So much. And remember, I'm 74. So I'm not saying I look great. But for 74, I look pretty good. And it's all because of Butcher Box.
I was surprised how much your house smells like bacon in the morning. I did not realize. And I was like, oh, you guys, like, y'all be cooking. Like,
yes. Butcher Box bacon. Cooking. Literally. The most. I eat the most. They're literally phenomenal.
All right, we got a couple super chats we want to get to.
And that link's right on the screen, everybody. Yeah. Get it. Butcher Box. Chat. Thank you, Butcher Box.
We Have to Live It said, just sending a thank you. I appreciate you guys. So, thank you.
That's very
we appreciate
sweet.
You too. Thank you.
No kidding.
Andrea2798 said, we forget New York is so big with so many options to develop old factory towns in upstate and western New York. The bones are there, but government needs to pivot to growth mindset instead of feed NYC at all cost.
I love hearing somebody talk about a growth mindset. And then also remember, he's not governor, he's just mayor. So, but it's just that New York has historically been the financial capital of the world. And so I think as a symbol of where we're going as a country, that's part of what's freaking people out, is that you've got a socialist now running the largest financial center in the world. And man, I'm so curious, like what people tell themselves when you go, okay, this has been tried a gazillion times throughout history. It fails literally every time, not most times. Every time. They end up having to lock the people inside of their own country, not letting them leave. Like, what do people tell themselves about why it's going to work this time? That's where I'm just like, what? So, yeah, it's wild.
Is it one of those things where it can work for 5 years, but then year 17 it breaks? Or is there a way we can kind of kick that? It
certainly gets off to a better start than it finishes. But if you're really socialist, like if you are a socialist country, you start jailing people right away.
Oh, okay.
Because you can't have people question the system. And this is where it's like, even so, Deng Xiaoping, who I will often credit as actually helping China do the Great Leap Forward, which he did, there's no denying that, but he also slaughtered people in Tiananmen Square. So,
yeah. RJ Johnson, thank you for your $20 super chat.
RJ, what's up, brother?
Born, raised, and still living in LA, I've been concerned for our future. Don't let New York City's superior attitude so ecstatic over Mamdani's win. Don't like New York City's superior attitude so ecstatic over Mamdani's win. Won't be long before they sink below our pathetic condition. Go socialism in NYC. Muscle emoji, 100%.
Just remember, they are never going to admit when things start going wrong that it was because of bad policy. They just won't.
Happy. And then Sequoia Hall 1695 said Central Park 5. And I think that goes back to the Trump doesn't peg me as racist. I don't know if you remember the Central Park. Sequoia Hall, they wrote Central Park 5.
Oh.
Yeah. When Trump was super hard on the Central Park 5, thinking that they were the teens. You don't remember this story?
Yeah. No, I know it. But why do we automatically assume that?
Because Trump took out that ad and said they need to get the book thrown at him.
And so we're assuming, did he say they need to get the book thrown at them because they're black or because he believed that they were the rapists, right?
Yeah, but they ended up getting off. They weren't responsible for it. It was
sure. So he misidentified innocent people and wanted the book thrown at them. What I'm saying is that was dumb if he didn't know the facts of the case. But why do we assume that was because they're black?
Because how hard he went over a racially charged trial, it'll be similar to the dude on the train who killed the Ukrainian woman.
Yeah.
And if somebody put a full page out on that and says, hey, this guy needs to go to the bottom of the pit. It's people like him that are making the country bad.
Yeah.
And at the same time, 1,200 people get stabbed every day and they don't get full page ads. So it's one of those things where you glorify a racially charged case. It kind of puts you on one side. Yeah.
Racism's real. Yeah. It's growing, which is horrifying. All of that's true. I don't know that we have any reason to believe that Trump did that ad because he is racist, given the number of prominent black people that have come out and said that he's not racist. So I don't know, like going down the lane of Trump is racist, whatever. Like I'm not going to die on that hill, maybe secretly, I don't know. I haven't seen anything in public, but I don't know him personally at all. So certainly not going to defend his racist or not racist record. I will say that America is growing increasingly racist, and that is dumb. And I hope that we all back out of that immediately. And remember, I'm telling you, I could think of whatever race you guys don't like. That race, I could find you a gaggle of people that you'd be like, oh man, this guy's just like me. Like people they're just down with the things that you're down with. And you love spending time with them. And you're just like, oh yeah, like you will suddenly be like, oh, that's right. It's about fucking values. And I could find you people that are exactly the same shade as you. You need to find a Casper the Ghost for me. But I can find you somebody that just matches your skin tone. And you're going to be like, this guy is a dick. And I don't want to spend an ounce of time with this person. Because it doesn't have anything to do with skin color. It has to do with values. We grow up in the areas from a historical perspective where everybody looks like us because that's just how geography worked. And so, of course, from a long-standing perspective, many countries, there will be a wild correlation between how they look and what their value system is. but it isn't causative. It isn't causative at all. So, yeah.
Also, Tom, you do know that you can be racist and have black friends.
Sure.
Copy. Okay.
But also, you do know that the odds of you being racist while having black friends goes down dramatically.
You can be very much...
Okay, define racism.
Discrimination against a certain class due to their skin color.
Okay, and so if you're not discriminating against your friend, and you're like, yeah, this guy's black, and I'm not treating him any differently, this guy's Chinese, and I'm not treating him any differently, then you're cueing off of something other than race when you discriminate against those other people. Odds are you're now just in-group, out-group. And so if we are expecting humanity to not have an in-group, out-group bias, we will die tired. That's never going away. So it's an algorithm that's in our minds. It literally, in every room you walk into, you are trying to figure out friend foe, full stop, period, or fuckable. Are they fuckable? Is this a friend? Is this something I can eat? So you're having a biological experience, okay? These are just the way that the mind works. I don't understand why people are so surprised by this. So, yeah. So the one that drives me crazy is that if you fully respect, love a person of another race, and then people go, that doesn't matter at all, that is full retard. So it doesn't mean that you don't have a weird glitch in your brain where you then go, everybody has to be vetted through the filter of I have to know you personally, or I'm leaving you in my sort of not thought through racist bucket. That is entirely possible. But what I'm saying is when you look at that moment, see the salvation in that. That, oh, okay, this guy isn't like, no matter what, I fucking hate Asian people, black people, Indian people, whatever. That person's like, oh, if they get to know them, then they let all that shit go. So now we just have to get them to realize they're making a category error. That's a lot more hopeful than somebody who has a value system that's like, I hate insert race.
Okay, we'll call it a category error. And I think that would help the conversation progress.
It certainly is a category error.
All right, and Andrea279 with a $50 super chat. Thank you for coming back to back. I appreciate you, Andrea. Thank you for your support. When politicians leverage hurt, why do we still want them to give us quote unquote free stuff? They're the coachman from Pinocchio looking to turn you into an ass. You can tell who didn't grow up on cartoon fables, LOL. Make fables great again. The little red hen.
Wait. Who said this?
Andrea2798.
Andrea, oh my God. You are my new favorite person. I am thinking about this endlessly as I watch One Piece. Dude, it's just fables. It is moral tales. Every episode is a moral tale. It is wild. It's so like on the surface, like the show is about bravery. It's about friendship. It's about going after a goal no matter what. I mean, and just over and over and over. It is incredible. So anyway, as somebody who wants to create children's entertainment specifically to pass on values, 100% agreement. It's really insightful.
I was trying to think about it. Like I remember the tortoise and the hare, Three Little Piggies. I feel like those are the only two. Like I didn't even see Pinocchio.
We gotta get you some more. Get you some more, man. Watch One Piece. It is, if you believe in like loyalty, friendship, going after goals, never giving up, pushing through pain. I mean, it's really incredible. And just honestly, I get asked, like, once you say that you're into One Piece, people will then ask who's your favorite character. And the honest answer is you really do have to take them as a gestalt. Any one of them is like wildly problematic.
Yeah.
But honestly, like the one I kind of lean towards is Usopp. And
which one's Usopp?
You have to watch the show because if I describe him, he's going to sound terrible. But he's a liar, and he's terrified all the time. And he decides that his goal is to become brave.
Yeah, the one with the nose.
And so he keeps forcing himself to get in these positions where he's absolutely scared out of his mind, but he does it anyway. But he admittedly has wild character flaws, which is part of what makes Uda so brilliant. Anyway, I could talk about it forever, but I have a feeling I will lose the audience.
CF Williams 1, thank you for the back-to-back super chats. And for those, just FYI, we have it in the description. We say it periodically, but super chats over $19.99 will be read. So we're not skipping you. We'll still put them up. We just won't read them out loud. She said, sorry if you already covered this, just joining now. What are your thoughts on the CA redistricting
Really
measure,
fast,
Prop 50?
because John Doe is calling me out. I am projecting onto Usopp, but not the liar part, the terrified part. So that is the same journey I have gone. I've said many times, my journey was one of learning to be strong. And so getting into business, I was just terrified all the time. And so I had to learn my path forward. So I'm not going to lady doth protest too much about whether I lie or not. You guys will be able to watch me on camera. You've already got God knows how many thousands of hours, so you can figure out whether I'm telling the truth. But from the secret thing that I wish weren't true about myself is that I have spent much of my life absolutely terrified, anxious. I mean, I try to talk about this stuff all the time, but yeah, that is why I find him motivational.
Nice.
Very similar journey.
All right, Prop 50 redistricting. It just passed in California. That allows California to gerrymander a couple seats to offset what's happening in Texas and the Republicans' effort to gerrymander. How do you feel about Prop 50 passing?
Oof. I think what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So if Republicans are going to try to redistrict, then of course Democrats are going to try to redistrict. So my thing is set one policy to rule the whole nation. It's the only intelligent way forward, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So what is the thing that we're going to say, this is the blanket. It applies everywhere. No one gets to redraw lines, nothing. It's just like a grid that falls down on America. And regardless of state, regardless of color, like that's how this all gets settled. Mm-hmm. And if it comes out to be 80% blue, then it's 80% blue. If it comes out to be 80% red, it's 80% red. It is what it is. But pick one policy to rule them all and never, ever, 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 ever redraw the lines. If people start moving, it just is what it is. Like, yeah, I think it's insane that we draw weird lines to try to get the number that we want. It's crazy town.
Yeah, I think it's just like crony capitalism and the middlemen who aren't entrepreneurs, who aren't good at it, who try to weasel their way up. They're the ones that ruin capitalism's reputation. I think this crony politics is the same way. Some of these district lines are literally a L-shaped with a little nodge, and that's at one district. It skips over 3 different towns. It cuts through 4 zip codes, but the another zip code, like, it does not make sense. I personally feel like an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. So I think California doing it as a fight back you just took away Californians' rights, just like Texas just took away some Texans' rights. And I think instead of high-fiving our team, we just made life worse for both of those people in both of those states. So I just think it's dirty. But
it's all dirty. It's ridiculous. It's very sad. Yeah. So that's where we are.
And we have LeBlanc, a.k.a. Nunya. When are we getting the next playtest and update the map editor, Tom?
December. No map editor updates yet. Okay. We're not focused on that at all right now. But you're going to do a play test in December. So that will open back up. I could not be more excited about the progress that we've made on terrain generation. It's still awkward as hell. Please do not get me wrong. Like, it's going to be ugly. But the world is really starting to get interesting. So again, this is one of those where this is exactly the kind of thing I love talking about. But we'll lose the audience. But yes, December.
And for those that somebody asked earlier in the chat, what's an update on Kaizen? So I don't know if you want to give us a quick elevator pitch.
Elevator pitch is it is basically Minecraft with MMO skill trees and guns. So yeah, that sums it up very, very rapidly. But it is a procedurally generated world that is absolutely massive, that's based on rules. If you alter the rules, the world responds. You're not altering the rules, but you move things around to match the rules, and then the world will respond to the new configuration that you've put it in. And like Minecraft, you can dig into it and drill down and find caves and all kinds of stuff.
And I know there's the pre-alpha available. I just dropped that link. Did some of the newer stuff get added into that, or that's still V1?
No, that's like
okay.
What LeBlanc is asking for is like, hey, we want to come in and play what you play every weekend, Tom,
Gotcha.
as I'm play testing this stuff.
Yeah.
So that they'll get to do in December. It'll still be super awkward and all that. But from what we've done under the hood to expand the capabilities of the world is insane. So yeah,
and the team is growing too. We just brought somebody on too. That's like so the development is starting to speed up and stuff too.
And we're trying to do an official countdown. I won't hold myself to this, but I will float it as this is what we're aiming for. So we're aiming for early access in call it November of 27. So roughly our countdown is 11 months where we have to 23 months where we have to lock it and get it ready to release.
Do video games take longer than like feature films? Because
yes,
I was surprised how long
lot.
feature films were, like 3-4 years, but I feel like this video game has been
games by the time we get to early access we'll have been developing for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's wild.
It's wild. Now if I had to do it over again I could get this far in 3 years, but I did not know what I was doing. So for the first year, we just literally wasted our time and money. But I learned, very expensive education, but I learned. The second year was us going, okay, now that I've made all the really dumb rookie mistakes, now let's start putting a system together, but we were still deeply inefficient. And now for the last, it's been about 18 months, we've been deadly efficient.
Copy. Okay, we got a couple more. We want to hit these quick. Sequoia Hall, thank you for the $20 super chat. My dad had us read Aesop's Fable as his moral teachings. Bring fables back. That is like a fables back. We might have to do like a fable segment where you kind of drop it for 5 minutes or something.
Quite literally, this is when I'm not on camera. There's only one thing I do that isn't that, and that's the ITU stuff, which, by the way, if you're thinking about starting a business, AI coming for your job, join ITU. It's a huge passion of mine. But if I'm not on camera or doing ITU, like all of my focus is on the game. I spend an inordinate amount of time on the weekends focused on the game. And it is a huge passion of mine. And I think it is ultimately, if I can get it to work, it will be the place that I try to impart values to kids. So that's one of those where if I'm on my deathbed and I'm like, okay, did I really do anything with my life? I'll be very proud of what I've accomplished. There's no doubt about that. I'll be super proud of my marriage. But like, if I never get that piece, if I never speak to anybody other than adults, I will be very sad.
Then we got another one from Truth Devin. Said, I think the more you watch One Piece, your favorite will be Zoro. He's my favorite just because he has a sword in his mouth.
Zoro is awesome. And he is admittedly the temptation because he's the cool kid.
Yeah.
But he's the guy that's already good. Yeah. So like when you pick up with Zoro, he's already the most feared like pirate hunter in the world. He's incredible. And so it's like, I love him. Don't get me wrong. But he's the guy, he's the invincible winner. I've never felt like the invincible winner. So I relate more towards people that have to struggle.
Nice. And then one more from Nanya K. Laban. That shops to hear being done, doing a lot of self-development and personal stuff in the background. So lots of new ideas as to improve stuff, looking to make decent content.
I hope he means around Kaizen.
That's good to hear. Been doing a lot of self-development and personal stuff in the background. So lots of new ideas to improve stuff to make decent content. I had to spell check that a little bit, but I think we got there.
It. Let's go.
I think we got through it.
I love it.
Okay, I want to go into outer space. We still don't know what's going on with the Martian. I mean, the asteroid that's flying around the sun right now. But there was breaking news that
there's an update. I assume this just went away.
I'm going about the gravity. Oh yeah, 3i Atlas is still circling around.
Yeah, that's gonna end up being nothing. I'm so sad. It's just.
You think it's gonna be nothing?
Just a rock.
All right. Well, we got like a week and a half left. Let's be optimistic.
Yeah.
I need some aliens to come in because I need us to get together, man. I need us to get together. I need a mission. I need an Independence Day sequel in real life.
That would be cool.
Gravity may be key that our universe is a simulation. Groundbreaking new research suggests. So Peter Diamandis tweeted this and said, "Yes, obviously we are living in a simulation, but what will you do differently now that you know that?" And Elon Musk tweeted, "Maybe have more pool parties." I had a video that actually broke it down because the one that Peter Diamandis tweeted was gatekept.
Yeah. What if gravity isn't a force at all?
So this was kind of a explanation of what they actually mean by gravity is the key to understanding that we're in a simulation.
Let's go.
force at all, but a cosmic algorithm. In a stunning new study, physicist Dr. Melvin Vopson suggests gravity might not be fundamental like we've always thought. Instead, it could be a computational process, a tool the universe uses to organize and compress its information. Imagine the universe as a giant computer with every bit of matter encoded like data. Gravity, in this view, is how that data is optimized, pulling things together to simplify the system. This theory builds on the idea that reality itself is made of information, not particles or energy. It echoes other revolutionary ideas like entropic gravity, the holographic principle. Together, these theories challenge our most basic assumptions about the universe. If true, this could help solve one of physics' greatest puzzles, reconciling gravity with quantum mechanics. More than that, it could mean we're living inside a kind of universal computation. To learn more about this mind-bending theory and what it means for the future of physics, watch our full YouTube video.
I'm gonna have
See
to
you
watch
there.
that full YouTube video. This is my aliens that we live inside of a simulation, and I have not gotten more information that's really compelling since the fact that we don't live in a locally real universe. But once I heard that we don't live in a locally real universe, a puzzle piece clicked in my brain, and I'm just like, wow, we really do live in a simulation. Or real life is so much like a simulation that still becomes the correct metaphor with which to think about the world, that the world is computational, that meaning it uses computational resources and therefore has to be partitioned out for rendering in the same way that you would partition out a game. And I'm just like, whoa, like when you start seeing that the similarities between the real universe, quote unquote, and the way that you optimize servers is 1-for-1, it's like, whoa, that is wild. That's wild, man. So yeah, I don't know. I find that thrilling. I love that. It makes things make so much sense to me. And also it ends up giving me ideas in terms of how to build a game, because I just start going, what did we do in real life? And this is why I get obsessed with these ideas, even at like the government structural level. If you got to push things down to their lowest level. This is what I'm saying. Don't try to do it up at the government level. It's like you're trying to do all this mass computation all the time, and it just never works. This is why centralized governments don't work. If you start pushing it down to the lowest level, let it happen at like the, do we draw the tree in the forest when it falls? Well, is somebody next to it? If somebody next to it, yes, it actually falls, and yes, it actually makes a sound. If nobody next to it, but you're just running what's called RNG, random number generator, and so it's like probabilities, if you will. And there's just a probability that the tree fell, but no one's there. You don't need to render it. You just need the outcome. Then it actually doesn't fall, and it actually doesn't make a sound. And so now when you start pushing things down like that, you conserve resources massively. You can do so much more computation because you just need the outcome. You don't actually have to render through all the graphical fidelity of that thing happening. So it's wild. Now it would be interesting to see if we could create enough measuring devices that we could actually slow the frame rate of the universe. That would be wild. But that's so interesting to me. It's so interesting to me. And I have to admit that building a game world, even more importantly, is so interesting in terms of at what level do you do this thing? Like, how do you generate a biome? And so if you look at Minecraft, a biome is generated through like temperature, humidity, and like a couple other really simple things. Mobs spawn based on how much light or darkness is there. It's just like these really simple rule sets. So if you want something to stop spawning, put torches up and they just stop because you've altered there's a rule set and you've altered the state. And so the rule either is on or off based on things that you as a player do. But Minecraft, I suppose, just stay really light, or maybe that was all they could do in the beginning, and now they're so locked into what the game is, they don't want to make changes. But the rule set is very, very simple. And so we're trying to push rules even deeper into the creation of the world so that you could do things like actually, like let's say you have a desert biome and a desert biome acts in a certain way, but there's a way to change a desert biome into a plains biome with it's not going to be this complicated, but imagine CO2 levels and planting trees, right? So now it's like you can actually green the world. And it could take over the desert biome. The desert biome stops spawning all the evil monsters that only spawn in deserts. And oh my God, like that kind of thing, dude. My poor wife has to listen to me talk about this stuff like all weekend. like I am a 9-year-old recanting their favorite cartoon. Yeah, I'm a little unhinged with this stuff.
Okay, Hits Blunt. Why do you think we are more comfortable accepting we are inside of a 14-year-old's video game than like this universe was created by like a all-knowing like sentient being?
Every answer that anybody ever comes up with is only pushing off the but really why is there something instead of nothing one layer farther. People just need metaphors. So the reason that analogies are so powerful is that you can give somebody a way to understand a very complex thing by giving them a simplified version that they have emotional experience with. So there's a weird thing that happens in your brain when you really get something where you can feel it. And so meaning you feel what that means. You don't just understand it intellectually. So if I'm like, doing this is like playing baseball. You're like, oh, cool, boom. A whole bunch of information just downloaded in your brain because you know so much about baseball. You remember the way that it made you feel. And so now all the pieces connect in a way that's both intellectual and emotional. So when I saw The Matrix, I was like, this is the perfect metaphor for the human experience. And I was just like on cloud 9 because I suddenly understood what it meant to be a human. And I was like, oh, I need to act as if I can do anything. Because if I believe it, then I'll actually go down the path of making it come true. If I don't believe it, then I can't do it, right? That's the whole punchline of The Matrix is once you realize that you don't need to dodge bullets, you can just stop them, you can stop them. But as long as you believe you have to dodge them, then you have to dodge them. If you believe that you can't move fast, then you can't move fast. If you believe you can move fast, then you can. And I was like, holy shit. So that just downloaded all this information into my brain. And I was like, cool. Not that I believed that the world was literally the Matrix. I didn't. But I believed that metaphor was so high in utility that I was like, oh, I've just simplified the world to a way where I know how to move forward in the world. And getting yourself to go, oh, I'm in a 14-year-old simulation. Got it. There's some, it alleviates pressure of oh, maybe things don't matter quite as much as I thought they did. That's kind of cool. But for a lot of people, that's devastating because it robs them of religiosity. And so I don't expect the simulation hypothesis to be soothing to everybody. I expect it to be wildly problematic for some people. But for me, somebody who just, the way I'm wired, is just, I'm trying to figure out why is this thing like this? There is a reason. And once I understand the why, then I don't have to memorize facts. I can just be like, I get how this system works. And so now I can move through the world well. It's extremely liberating for me. And also it just feels right. Now, I don't know that it's true, and hopefully people know by now. I know better than to trust myself implicitly. So I'm always like, man, if somebody comes up with evidence that that isn't true, I will not be surprised at all, and I will update my worldview to whatever is highest utility. But if, for instance, because right now I sort of believe that we're in a simulation, but I don't really know. But it's the most high utility way I have to explain to myself and to others, a way to think about what's going on. We're all beginning to develop an understanding of AI, how powerful it is and how weird it can go. Where all of a sudden it just gets something in its head, no matter what, it just keeps going down that path. And you're like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, you're exactly the same. And so am I. And so if I catch myself in one of those weird loops where I've just got some context that's just taking me down a weird path, I'm like, hey, remember, you can get sucked into one of these AI-like rabbit holes. And so thinking of myself as a marginally functional AI, but with wild problems, I'm like, yeah, that's actually quite useful.
As I went down that rabbit hole through the both through the Twitter thread and through the video, it seemed like I hit this bump where I forgot what term they used, but they said that the speed of light is that's why it's such a chasm that we can't cross. Because that's the computational energy. I forgot what the term they use.
It's because if you can only render things or only process things at a certain speed, if you could move faster than the rate at which you can load the next chunk of the world, then you could get to a chunk that hasn't loaded. And so what you do is you say, this is our render speed. And so you can't travel faster than that render speed. So it becomes an artificial limit. And so this, again, is when you understand that, you go, that is 1-for-1 with how you optimize a video game, where you load things in chunks, you only load what the player is looking at. What kind of madness is this, Drew? That's what happens when we're traveling. And normally all my alarms are appropriately set to go off at the right times. So it's literally 1-for-1 that you would need something like that. And so this is why you get loading screens. But in real life, we've tried to make a seamless server. So if we're in a simulation, it is a seamless simulation where you can move anywhere around the world. You never have to wait for anything to load. It just happens.
Unless you go by the faster than the speed of light.
If you could go faster, then the hypothesis goes that is one potential reason why you would need a limit. Because when you look at the math, you're like, why does this need to be limited? It doesn't make any sense. But if you have a computational need for a limitation, then it would make sense. Now, that may not be the real reason, but it is certainly a internally consistent reason that's plausible.
And then knowing this information, because you said it's the most high utility. Is it because I have this analogy of how the world is created through a simulation, I can now convey that message to others? That's where the utility comes from? Or
I'm a little more selfish than that, so I just think about how it helps me live my own life. And all of this is parallel. It wasn't how I was coming up with the idea that you're having a biological experience, but I realized I was just mapping something parallel to that, because I was always trying to figure out why I have an emotion, not just that I have one, and why they would so often lead me astray. And so it was like, oh, you start putting the building blocks together of like, how did we get here? Evolution. What does evolution actually want me to do? Have kids that live long enough to have kids. Oh, cool. That like starts explaining all of these processes that are running in my brain that like push me to act in a certain way. I've often thought of like I would be no different if literally this morning was the first real moment of my life, and that everything in my mind that's a memory isn't real. It was all part of my programming. It's just my backstory. And then I would always ask, well, why would I need all of that backstory? And the answer is you need all of that backstory because it gives you the context that you need to move forward. So I was like, oh, it's really the context that's necessary. It's not actually that I live all of that. And then you start going, oh, this is really about decision making. And then you're back to this is 1-for-1 with like creating a game where you start going, okay, I don't want the AI to like act in predictable ways because that doesn't feel good. I don't want the AI to walk into walls either. That doesn't feel good. And so you start realizing, oh, I actually don't want to pre-train the AI with everything. I want to give it the ability to learn. And then I want to give it an incubation period where it's basically, like they say, up until the age of 7, if you scan a kid's brain, they're essentially in a dream state. So they're not interfacing with the real world. That's why I'm not kidding about the following statement. I used to walk around my front yard wearing a swimming mask and pretending that I was underwater. And it was one of my favorite things to do because in pretending I was underwater, I actually felt like I was underwater. Like I didn't feel wet or anything like that, but I would just get so lost, and I was actually seeing fish, and I was seeing what I remembered from TV shows and stuff about being underwater. And I would just walk around my front yard wearing that swimming mask, like imagining being underwater.
Before the internet, man. Times
yeah.
was so simple.
So true. So true. And that shows you, like, if I did that now, I would feel like a guy wearing a swimming mask walking around his yard. I wouldn't feel like I was actually underwater. And so there's something that's happening to the brain in those states. So anyway, for me, coming to understand the way that my brain works, largely by analogy, because obviously I don't understand it the way that somebody like David Sinclair would understand it, or David Eagleman, far better example. But I still understand it in a way that allows me to not be trapped as much by my emotions, to be able to step outside of that, to understand how I learn, to understand why I might get fatigued. So for instance, when my skin was itching, I didn't think this is something from the outside getting on me. I assumed it was something from the inside working its way out. And so having the metaphor of like, no, all of this stuff is pushed down to the lowest layer possible, meaning that my cells are what's doing the work. And so if I've got a problem, I should be thinking about cellular health. And when you approach your life like that, suddenly all of this stuff just clicks into place, all the way from my health to my emotions to how to get good at something, on and on.
Interesting. All right, let's jump into some more future technology.
Let's go.
We talked about this at the beginning of the show. A new sub-nano nitrate wireless brain implant just recorded activity in awake mice for a year. That's crazy. No wires, no battery. Light powers it. Light transmits data. The brain-machine merger is near. So they kind of show that they made this, like, they insert this nano into the mice's brain. It has sending signals to a computer in which they were able to measure like processing power and things like that. So I know we already have what Elon Musk is doing and how he's already doing in Neuralink and then already implanting it into patients. Now we have this nano technology emerging as well. It seems like we're going to have augmented brain activity definitely next 5-10 years, it seems like.
Well, so you already have it. It's just a question of safety. It's a question of the risk. So when you've got somebody that's a quadriplegic and it's like, well, either you are totally inoperable and people have to do everything for you, or we can do this risky thing and we can put electrodes in your brain and we can allow you to move a robotic arm, play video games, move a wheelchair, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, if you're a quadriplegic or you have ALS and you're just deteriorating by the day, it's like, yeah, I'll bypass all that bullshit and go straight into essentially living in a virtual world. Now, you can live in the virtual world or you can come back out and via the virtual world, live back in the physical world with robotics and all that. That is a no-brainer for anybody in that. Now, what I think you're getting to is when will a healthy human begin augmenting themselves? That's not going to be in 5 to 7 years. That's going to be in 10 to 15 years. But it will happen, and it will, like, if you have a 5-year-old, it might happen before they graduate high school.
Wow.
So it's like, when you get it in that perspective of how near term it is, it's like, oh, whoa, like this is transformative. Remember, Elon is estimating AGI is coming in the next 24 to 36 months. AGI is effectively the thing that is going to usher in a SI, because a GI would be, you can have as many humans as you want, as many as you can produce the compute for, but you would be able to bring on, call it 10 million Einsteins. What does the world look like when you have 10 million Einsteins, right? Like that's wild.
What's the moat? Is it just waiting until it catches on? Like,
energy and compute for
for like
altering our own brains.
Yeah, for healthy humans to say yes.
Safety and utility. So right now, cutting your brain open is about the most dangerous thing you can do. There's a saying in brain science, it's like once air touches the brain, it's never the same again. So you want to keep that thing locked down as tight as you can. Now, as we get better at that, like my mother-in-law had brain surgery and I was just on a loop. She's one of my favorite human beings. On a loop. I was like, once air touches the brain, it's never the same again. And I was just like expecting her to be different. She is 100% the same. Awesome. And dude, literally thoughts and prayers. Like, bro, I was like, I was beside myself with that result. I was just so hoping for.
That's awesome.
So anyway, years ago now, and she's normal. So hopefully that's a sign that things are just getting better and better. And as more of these people get these implants, I think it'll take a good 5 to 7 years for there to be even several hundred of them. And so that's why these kind of things, like getting the approvals and all that stuff, that really does take time. But you start getting out to 10, 15 years, you probably see the first small handful of people augmenting their brains. Now, someone like me, when am I going to do it? It's like first gen tech is always pretty weak. So it's like, I don't want to look like a cyborg. I just want to feel like one. So I'm probably in the 20 to 30 year range where I start going, when 80, like,
when the Neuralink 17 Pro comes out, that's when I'll grab it.
Exactly. So I think most people will wait quite a ways, but it's really going to happen.
All right, let's jump over to the UK now, where Tommy Robinson beat the terrorism charges. The judge was blistering in his criticism of the police, saying their testimony lacked credibility and that they in fact targeted Tommy for political reasons, which is illegal. Incredible outcome. This is a journalist from the Rebel News over in the UK.
Ezra Levant here for Rebel News. I'm standing outside Westminster Magistrates Court. Huge news today. Tommy Robinson acquitted of charges under the Terrorism Act. The judge blistering in his criticism of the police, saying they lacked credibility and their testimony could not be relied on. In fact, the judge went further, saying that he believed that the primary reason the police arrested, detained, and interrogated Tommy in the first place was because of his political views, which is a protected characteristic in the UK. That is, you can't go after someone just because of their politics or their religion. And in fact, the police had no recollection of any questions they asked about terrorism. The judge particularly blunt about that. It's very encouraging for Tommy to be acquitted, because sometimes you feel like you have to give up on the system, that maybe Tommy can't get a fair trial anywhere in the UK. Today is proof that sometimes the system does work.
Yeah,
and
this is very encouraging. I mean, this is the ultimate values debate is playing out right now in Europe, and Tommy has sort of become the firebrand at the center of it all, and seeing them go after him, seeing them lose faith in themselves as a nation, as a British identity, not a white identity, but a British identity, is that's been hard. I have so much family over there. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see. I don't know if they're going to be able to back out of this or not, but it is certainly, this is a tick in the right side for sure.
As we were joking earlier at the show, like you moving to Florida, things like that. Lisa was in the chat like, yeah, moving to the UK is not an option. So even with family and ties there, it's like, I would never go there.
Yeah, the funny thing is I doubt she was saying that for political reasons. When I met her, and none of this was on our radar as something to be concerned about at all, she was like, get me out of here. I was actually, I loved it, because I not only grew up in America, I grew up on the west coast of America, in the Northwest. So, and not even in a city, in like a small, like, town, sort of, and it was going to London for the first time was one of the coolest experiences of my life. Like, you can never sort of re-experience that first time you see something truly different. And I was like in hysterics laughing because I was just so excited. And I was like, being here is like being on the set of Mary Poppins. I'm like, this is so wild to see all the roofs and, that look in that like classic British way of just house after house after house after house with all the chimneys, and they're all in a line. It was just so surreal. But it was awesome. And I worked in central London. So I was commuting into the center of London every day and was just like, this is amazing public transport. First of all, this was like, just one of the most fascinating. I was reading Clive Barker at the time. Clive Barker's a British author, and it was a book set in London. Oh man, just like all of it was so cool to me. And so I was like, I don't know if you want to like stay here for a year, I'd be open. And she's like, absolutely not. She is like, we are leaving right now. So as a Greek girl, she just could not stand the gloom. So for me, I grew up in Tacoma, Washington. There's only 2 places on planet Earth. This is one I probably should fact check, but I read once from a, Lord knows if it's a reliable source, but I read once there's only 2 places in the world that have a marine climate, and that's the Pacific Northwest and London. And I was like, oh yeah, like this is so recognizable being in the UK. I'm like, this is exactly what it felt like growing up. She might be right. It might be a little more sort of damp, but Tacoma is very similar, very similar.
And then also in the UK, they are putting on the table a possible VPN ban as an online safety act could be expanded. So they already were going after Tommy Robinson through what they deemed terrorism charges due to his being cooperative with the police over certain things he said and tweeted. They minimized that to political decisions. Now with a VPN ban, it could be, well, we can't get you for being it, but we can at least make sure you're in our jurisdiction to then go after it.
This is a lot like when countries won't let you leave the country because you don't really have freedom. I'm not saying that like countries shouldn't say like, given this, you've got certain laws and there are going to be things available on the internet from other places. So there's going to be some amount of this, but seeing the UK like try to block people in like China style firewall, and not, I mean, they're not going that far yet, but like there's signals in that direction. I really hate to see it, especially somebody, I lived there for a year. UK was awesome, loved it, but it's definitely moving in the wrong direction for sure. And just really fast, because I saw that we have both Gig Harbor and Tacoma in the feed right now. Those are some hometown flashbacks. So what's up to both? All right. So yeah, I hate seeing the UK move in that direction. I hate seeing what's happening to Europe. There really is a late stage victory. I don't know what to take this as, but when you've had stability for as long as you've had economic stability, economic like wins, massive. Maybe some of it is like a hangover from, even though there's multiple generations from most people that are alive now that was involved in colonialism and empire building, but maybe some guilt over that. I don't know. But like seeing people make self-destructive decisions is very sad.
Yeah. I'm finally landing the plane on Atlas Shrugged, so I'm starting to see like the politicians get through the other side of being the fuck yous and stuff like that. So she characterizes these guys a lot of times with just like they were mediocre people who were jealous of talent, and they just, you know, they wanted to just grab as much power as they could. I feel like this is different though in real life. What the UK is doing is like, I do think that they're trying to do the right thing, but it's just being communicated bad. Is it because they're old? Like what is it? Because I don't see. It seems like this is something that is obviously a bad idea. Young people in the UK use VPNs. They obviously know it's a bad idea. Is it just a disconnect? How do you think these ideas
control
get there?
people? You have to control people. So this is a game of control. Once you understand that politics is a game of power and control, once you understand that the elites, in fact, I put something in the spreadsheet. We got to pull this up because it makes sense right now. But this is from the Open Society Foundation, which is George Soros's organization. And it was somebody writing a think piece, and I think it was for internal consumption. That I can't swear to. But anyway, they wrote a think piece, and their punchline was, to save democracy, we've got to get some percentage of people to give up their sovereignty, and then we'll basically run the country on their behalf. So translated, this is elites who are convinced that they are right. They are convinced they are smarter than you, and therefore they should be able to lead, and you should just suck it up and like whatever they give you. And it is so moronic because it is people that believe they can never be wrong. And one of the things they even mentioned in the letter is, of course, climate as a crisis that has to be dealt with no matter what cost that comes with. And guess who just backtracked on the climate? Bill Gates. So one of the like most elite people telling you, like that's probably not the one to beat the world to death on. Humans are not good at identifying the truth. The truth is very complicated. It is buried under layers of confusion. It will take us a very long time to drill all the way down to cause and effect, to have the computational ability to track all of those variables using things like AI. So it's like, look, all of this stuff, having the level of confidence that people have is ill-advised. The scientific method is about disproving something. It is confirming something. It is recognizing that progress is about going, okay, I think this is right because it's got high utility, so I'm going to act like it's right, but I'm going to try to find the next thing that's a little bit better, that moves me a little bit closer. Cool, got that? Now I'm going to try to find the next thing that moves me a little bit closer. And so you're always trying to invalidate your current approach to get to the next best thing. Instead, what elites do is they go, I know best, y'all are fucking stupid, and so just shut up and do what I say. This is why I'm telling you, you can learn everything you want to know about somebody by asking them, what do you do with dumb voters? And if they say you silence them, then you've got a control freak. You've got somebody who believes that they know best and that if we all just listen to them, that things would be better. And the reality is that human intelligence is a distribution. There really are dumb people. And the reality is you still got to win them over. And so the world that we get is this constant like fighting over which direction that we're going to go. And it keeps anybody from like running off with everything and becoming like a sociopath because they have to convince the masses. Oh, and by the way, the masses actually have the control and they will eventually kill you. So it's like if you run them in the wrong direction for too long. Now, unfortunately, you can do it for 100 years, 150 years. Like you can do it for a very long time, but they will eventually kill you. So, and it's like, again, once you understand the algorithm or the simulation or God or whatever you want to call it, it does not care about any one generation. But oh, buddy, on a long enough timeline, people really do get theirs. So Yeah, this is the structure of things.
This is the paragraph highlighted from the Open Society Foundation. I believe the time has come for a responsible, courageous elite, those who care far more about addressing the genuine social problems than about election results. Only a political elite with vision, prudence, and a focus on the general good, to whom the electorate can cede part of their sovereignty in the elections, will be able to justify public trust and spearhead our struggle to survive.
Oh, my God. Okay, stop. This right there. So that's lingering in the air. Mm-hmm. Now, what do you do when people refuse to cooperate? That's the question I want everybody asking. Hey, a policy just got passed. What are you going to do when people refuse to cooperate? If you understand that you shoot them or jail them, cool. Now we know. You're going to use violence to enforce these ideas. Mm-hmm. So now I'm like, we should probably have very few ideas. Mm-hmm. Because if we're going to use violence to enforce them, every one of these better be something we really fucking believe in, because we are going to violently do things to people that disagree.
Man, this is scary too, because I can see, we were just talking about this at the beginning, our frustration with the political system, how elections aren't working. Every couple of years, we're just swinging the pendulum back and forth. So there are people that are like, hey, man, we need to get off of this game and do things the quote-unquote right way. But there is a slippery slope between I'm doing this because I want it to be right versus now I'm maintaining my position versus now I'm addicted to the power versus now I like making all decisions and not having to get any checks and balances. And then to your point, that's how tyranny happens.
People need to read the Founding Fathers. Because we've lost sight of this was a very conscious structure that was built, and they could anticipate a lot of things, but not everything. Mm-hmm. And so look at what were the things that they could anticipate? What are the things that we found ways around? And the thing that they didn't understand, I think, is really twofold. They didn't understand how on very long time scales that the bureaucracy hardens into ideological drivers, and that we would completely abandon things like moral virtue. And so now you've got to go back, read what they were talking about, read what they were worried about, which is the rise of tyranny, the death of sovereignty, that liberty was what the country was founded on, and that any system that erodes those things is anathema to what they were trying to build. Now, you also need to realize that they didn't want a democracy, because they understood that you could get people that would, they would just get whipped up in a frenzy.
Mob mentality.
Yeah, like we're just, this is the hot thing and we're going to run with it right now. They distrusted central banking. I mean, just like if you go down the list and then you look at modern society, it's like, wait a second, we've basically got all the things that they told us not to do. We're not doing light touch government. We are not a small government anymore. We are mahusive. We tax the life out of people, which they were very skeptical of. They did it, but they were very skeptical of taxing people a lot. And so it was like, I mean, tax was like 3% of income or something like that until 1913. So it's crazy how much we've allowed the government to expand, how much the cost structure has gone up for us to meet all of the demands of the government. So read the Founding Fathers. You suddenly realize, if I approach this from a values perspective and I say, okay, what kind of soil am I trying to make, to go back to that idea? And then it's like, whatever grows out of that soil, as long as it's bearing fruit that's good for everybody, it might not be quite what I expect or quite in the way that I expect or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's like, cool, everybody's roughly healthy. Again, using middle class as the barometer for all of that. Freedom and middle class. Those are probably two very good barometers. And build towards those things. And the checks and balances and all of that has really become eroded by the way that the deep state, I think is the right word, has really calcified power structures, calcify, all of those things become very problematic. Even just like geography, the fact that Virginia, the area surrounding DC, is the wealthiest area in the world, in the country, tells you a lot. So beware.
We shall find out. All right, we got a couple super chats.
Let's go.
Throw these things up.
Yeah, super chat.
All right, Mr. G2 wrote tips to read, rate, Tips to read, retain, and implement most effectively and efficiently, specifically books. Tom needs to write a book on first principles thinking and mapping, but for now, any book recommendations? Thanks for all you do. So tips on how to read, retain, and implement, and then book recommendations.
Okay, so I read in swarms. I learn in swarms. That is far better. I spend way more time on YouTube videos and AI now than I do on actual books. I read every day, but I just, in terms of number of hours, it now goes to other things, which is already fascinating and probably why I'm never going to write a book, though that would be the one book that would turn my head a little bit. Would be to write something around first principles thinking. Okay, so the best way to do this is you want to be building a map of cause and effect. So I have found nothing has been more advantageous to my learning than having to write deep dives. Because what I find is I'm going in, I'm writing an outline, and I go to write a thing that I believe, and then I realize, ooh, the YouTube comments are going to tear me up because I have not well researched that. So I'm like I understand most of that, but like I can tell where my understanding breaks down and where if somebody pushed me, I wouldn't be able to give like a full account of cause and effect. And so then I'll spend time researching that. So for instance, Drew wanted me to record the deep dive before he left for Miami on Monday. Over the weekend, I was like spending all this time researching. And I was like, fuck, I did not expect the research to take me this long. But because to really learn this thing, to be able to write this thing, I have to understand the cause and effect. And so there'll be a lot of like branching things. And so when it comes to like, why do we need to be paranoid about a market crash? Why can't the bubble go up forever? Mechanistically, how do I know that the bubble's going to burst? Not just vibes, but like, what's the math? How does this end? In having to teach that in a video, I had to really learn that. So that is the way that I retain it. So there's a famous quote, I don't know who said it, but the fastest way to learn something is to teach it. So get yourself in a position where you need to articulate it. It doesn't have to be on YouTube, can be to your kid brother, whatever. But find somebody, I used to do this with Lisa all the time, be like, let me try to explain this to you just to see if I actually understand it. And then if you can explain it simply, you know you understand it. And then anything that you're learning should be a thing with purpose. And so, well, what was the purpose? Start using it to that end. So for instance, one of the reasons I'm learning about investing is so that I can survive whatever's happening financially. And so, well, now it's like, okay, what am I actually doing with my money? And so for the first 2 years, I was learning about this stuff. I was talking about it, but my money was just staying in the same hyper defensive position. And then you start learning a little bit more and you're like, wait a second, why do I have my money like that? That doesn't make any sense. And then you start parsing it out. So anyway, the best way to learn something is to do it in swarms, meaning you're reading as many voices on one topic as you can. Then you want to get to the point that you understand it well enough to teach it to somebody. And then you actually want to deploy it in your life. So only read things that have a meaningful application. If you're trying to be a better parent, read about parenting, then deploy it against your kids. You're trying to be a better businessman, read about business, then deploy it in your business. And then you find out what's working, what's not working, period.
Nice. Tim Riley, thank you for the 1989 Super Chat. Tom, for those without a map of meaning, the virtue world will look like order, but it would only hide their chaos. You see the Matrix as freedom. I see it as escape. The real challenge is finding meaning where reality still hurts.
Oh, well, so we both agree about the only point is meaning and purpose. So I don't think there's any disagreement there. Where we might disagree is that in the future, AI is either going to kill us or enslave us, or we are going to have everything we've ever wanted and it will create a meaning crisis. In that moment, I think there are 4 choices. Choice number 1 is you go to Mars. Choice number 2 is that you become new Amish. Choice number 3 is that you do a whole lot of drugs. And choice number 4 is that you live inside of virtual worlds where you can optimize the challenge perfectly to do a thing. So think of it as living inside of a video game. I think I am of the archetype number 4. So I will choose to both create, if that's still a relevant thing, and live inside of those optimally challenging environments. So that just seems self-evidently true as we look forward in terms of how the world is going to work. So virtual worlds bring on more meaning and purpose for me, not less, but it won't happen by accident. But if you're a new Amish or you want to go to Mars and live life on hardcore mode, by all means. I don't think there's anything wrong. I don't advise option 3, which is the drugs, but hey, I might spend a couple weekends a year on drugs and sex. So keep that in mind. I'm not totally poo-pooing that idea.
Ruben Taego said, see Tate tweet. It's about this, the downfall of the UK. I dropped it in our spreadsheet. We'll cover it next on Friday. Come back Friday. I got you, Ruben. I promise.
Let's go.
Nunya, you don't need to slow the frame rate of the universe time because time doesn't exist. It's not a fundamental component of reality.
Yeah, I suppose
Time
it's possible
isn't
that
real.
we
I'm with you there.
don't notice the slowing of the frame rate, but there's a reason that whoever built the simulation cares enough about it to optimize. So I do think that if it is optimized, there's probably a way to break it. Just like if you can get a lot of things to spawn in inside of a video game, you will crush the frame rate. Or if you crank up your settings so that it chunks in like a massive amount of the world, or if you just run your calculations at the wrong level. So there are probably things that we inside the simulation could do. But I think the only one that comes to mind that we could really do fast would be to create enough sensors. But even that is probably, some raised to the power of 50 or whatever number of sensors that would be needed before we start slowing things down. So probably don't have to worry about it.
Well, we can't slow down the frame rate, but we can slow down our rising grocery bills with ButcherBox. Get your free meat, guys.
Go.
Link in the description.
And
thank you, ButcherBox, for doing it.
You want to talk about cellular health? That is one of the main reasons that I eat ButcherBox. It's certainly what got us on it in the first place with Lisa. Was it's extremely quality meat, grass-fed, grass-finished, free range, like all that stuff. These guys are amazing. They've been a longtime sponsor. My freezers are full of this stuff. I'm super grateful that they sponsored today's episode. I'm also just grateful that they do what they do so that I can eat high-quality meat. All right, guys, check them out. Try it. They are incredible. And we'll be back on Friday. We're still going to be here.
We got an ITU ZTF Masterclass coming up.
Let's go. Okay, so what's the date on the Masterclass?
Coming.
Let's get it. Here we go. Nope, it's not obvious. Okay, let me explain why we do ZTF. That'll be a better thing while Drew looks up the date. Because AI is coming, because so many people are going to lose their jobs.
Next Tuesday.
Tuesday, November 11th. Perfect. Because so many people are going to be losing their jobs, I know that there's going to be a massive influx of people that are going to want to control their own destiny. And so what I'm teaching people how to do is start their own companies. That's literally what we mean by zero to founder. And now, because of all the incredible AI tools, it could not be easier, but you actually have to understand what tools, how to use them. And so I'm going to be doing a free masterclass on those tools. You're going to walk away with 5 essentially AI employees, how to structure them, how to build them up so that you can get your company tested. It's really what you're going to be doing at first is just validate that there's a market for your idea, something called product market fit. So we're going to talk about that, how to validate that using AI. It is very simple, very straightforward, and extremely powerful. So I hope you guys will join me for that. What time is it, Drew? November 11th
at 11 a.m.
11 a.m. Pacific.
PST. Yep.
All right, there it is. 11 a.m. Pacific on November 11th. Join me, guys, if you've ever wanted to found your own company or if you've lost your job and you want to control your own destiny moving forward. Now is your shot. All right, everybody.
One more super chat came in at the last minute.
Nunya
LeBlanc. The Trump admin could twist UK and Canada's arm to become stable and free, but it doesn't. Just focusing on U.S. economy. I go on think the UK and Canada should have collapsed so US can annex with cheers and applause.
Oof. We really don't want to do that. Supporting our allies, yes, that would be very wise. Trump's rhetoric is horrible. We should not do more of that. And we really do have enough problems of our own right now, unless there is some massive national security reason why we would want to do it. We should probably give them the space, help if they're in a crisis, but otherwise they got to figure their own shit out. We got enough problems. That's how I see it. All right, everybody. Until next time, my friends. Be legendary. See you guys on Friday. Peace.